Welcome to Music World. Good afternoon, and welcome to Music World. I'm your host and music lover, Ed Guzelian. I'm really excited about today's show because have you ever really just stopped back to think about what are the greatest albums of all time? Joining me today are two of the industry's top analysts and critics. It's going to be a fun show. From Northwestern University, a pioneer in the industry, and one of my favorites, Derek Goldman.
Hello, Ed.
I know you've been working for months on your list, and have you come up with a list of what you consider the top 100 albums of all time?
I have, Ed. And let me tell you, it was no fun.
Are you happy with this list?
Yes, I'm very happy with it. I might even say I'm thrilled with it.
That's good. I know you've also been working hard on your compact disc companion book, You and Your Compact Disc.
Yes, I have. It's the third of such a book that I've written, and it's soon to be in the stores. And yes, I've worked quite diligently on it. I think it's the best of the books on of the compact disc. of the compact disc books that I've written. Some of the more general books about the music industry, I think, are a little more interesting.
All right, it's interesting that you should say that. I know you think you have the best book. Our other guest, I know you two don't necessarily get along.
Oh, don't be silly.
No, I don't mean don't get along, but just you operate, say, on different spectrums of the industry.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Dr. Weiner and I have had disagreements over specific types of things. But I'd say basically what we do is really very much the same.
Okay, I got a little surprise for you. We didn't tell you this, but he has also compiled his own list on today's show. And he will be presenting that alongside of yours.
Oh, my goodness.
Now,
we're in for a lot of fun.
Does that make you feel uncomfortable in any way?
Oh, no, it makes me, if anything, it makes me very excited.
Because we're not trying to set up a confrontation here. We just want sort of different
confrontation, schmonfrontation. I'm ready to present my list, and I'll present my list aside any list from any critic. Anytime.
I'm sure the viewers have heard me babble on long enough. Let me introduce the other guest. Let's just get underway with the list. My other guest is from Harvard University. His opinions are respected throughout the world on the music industry, and especially in the CD section. He's written a book called The CD and You.
Exactly.
Please welcome Dr. Dan Weiner. Please have a seat.
Thank you. Good to see you, Ed. Nice to see you, Dave. Good to see you, Mr. Goldman. Yeah, I was amused by your book.
Well, many people, I think actually for the 30 million people who bought it, were probably very amused with it.
Oh yes, no, it was. I commend you on an outstanding piece of work.
I think we both should thank Ed for getting us together.
Absolutely, Ed.
Wonderful
Ed,
opportunity
it's a
to share.
very exciting opportunity. I'm excited to share with the audience both of these lists and to be on such a wonderful program, such a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get started, I'd like to know how do you even start making this list?
Go ahead.
Wait, Derek.
Well, as I implied earlier, making one of these lists is not fun. I'm sure people at home say,
Right, because I think they have an illusion.
the idea that this is
People think it's fun, that we have hundreds of discs that we're just fooling around,
I
writing
think people right now are
Nothing can be farther
running
from
for a notepad, a pen, maybe compiling their own list. And
I would recommend they don't try that unless they're
don't
serious and they know what
try
they're doing.
this at home because there's nothing enviable about this task. If anything, I would say it's somewhat pitiable that we're stuck doing this. Basically, in my case, I went about compiling the list. I decided that a list like this, it was important that I make a list like this because I've made a lot of lists in my time.
We also offered you a bundle.
This is true, and that helped. but a list like this was inevitable. And
Are you, Doctor? What was the first step to make a list? What's
The first
thing
step,
you did?
I'll be honest.
be honest,
I was
Dr. Wine.
I was in a record store called Looney Tunes, which is where I often buy compact discs. This you can see that my buyer's guide to compact discs talks about this inexpensive compact disc, used compact disc. I was looking at all
They're all
these discs.
$10 in Looney Tunes, and frankly, I don't think it's such a great deal.
Anyway, that's all in my buyer's guide. I was looking at these thousands of discs, and I said to myself, I'm always thinking, which ones are better, which ones do I like? And then it hit me, I looked at two discs, I said, this one's really better than this one. I said, yes, but neither of them are as good as this one over here.
So say an order started to appear.
Exactly, an order started to appear online. I raced home and began to madly just ram discs into my 10 CD changer, having them on shuffle, listening to songs, and this idea began to germinate in my mind.
Nothing is more fundamental for the rock critic than the idea of ordering and putting into lists. I'm doing it consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, all the time. This song's better than this song.
Often before I go
I'm
shop-
always thinking of in terms of top 10s, I've published books. We had the 500 most overlooked albums, the 400 most overlooked riffs.
I enjoyed that book.
I had the 750 most overrated riffs. I've got a variety of list books. I'm always thinking in terms of lists.
Wow,
Frankly, it surprises me that someone as eminent as Dr. Weiner one day went into Looney Tunes, saw these things, and it occurred to him
Well,
that
I
such a list
myself-
might
Okay, gentlemen. All right, we haven't even gotten the list out, and I assume we're at each other's throats.
Well, I can...
It's all in good fun.
I'll tell you what. Let's get right to the lists. Okay?
Okay.
Now, how are we going to work this? How are we going to work
Explain
this
to me,
out?
this wasn't explained to me,
Yeah.
Dr. Kazarian.
I was just raced over to the studio.
Well, I wasn't even sure. My stage manager, Hal, gave me a brief synopsis of
Okay.
how this is going to work.
Yeah.
I believe in order to do this, someone will read the 100, album number 100. There will be then a rebuttal by reading 98 and 97. Yes. Yes. The other person will then read 98, 97, and 96.
But we each have separate lists, though.
Right.
So what's gonna... The way it was explained to me is is one person will read number 100, say me. Then, and talk about why it's number 100. Then the next person will read 100 and 99. And then the next person will read 99 and 98. The point being, so it's not like a back and forth
Yes,
type
that's
thing,
interesting.
where I always read the first disc
right.
and
Hal,
then...
no, Hal's nodding. That's exactly how he explained it.
Thank you, Hal.
Excuse me.
I haven't seen Hal in a while.
Excuse me. I had heard that we were going to each go through all of the prime numbers, save for one first, then go back on evens, then odds, working our way chronologically just so there'd be a certain randomness.
Okay, Dr. Weiner, we haven't all gone to Harvard now.
That's ridiculous. That was my understanding.
Isn't the idea that this is a countdown?
No, that's okay. I wouldn't want to offend Hal. Oh, let's go with that. Let's go with that.
I suggest we just get right to the list.
Let's get right to the list.
Let's get right to the list.
Okay, viewers, enjoy.
Well, I'm going to start with my number 100 album. The album is by a British band, very popular through the 70s, disbanded in the early 80s, and some various members of the group went on to do some solo work and got back together and did some material that wasn't very exciting. But in the 70s, they did some really excellent work.
I hope you're not talking about who I think you are.
Well, we'll find out, won't we?
I'm afraid we will.
Band fronted by Roger Hodgson and Dave Davies, and the album that I chose to sort of represent them was their most commercial album, their biggest success, featured a number of big hits. They have some other really interesting albums, and they're one of the many bands we'll talk about where our greatest hits collection is available on disc and is highly recommended, because by no means is all the worthwhile material by this band contained on this album, which is the only album that I put in the top 100 for them. The band is Supertramp, led by Roger Hodgson, and the album is Breakfast in America, which features the songs Goodbye Stranger and Take the Long Way Home and The Logical Song and a number of others. It's an outstanding album, and in some ways the best Supertramp album in that it combines just their sort of different elements of excellent pop songwriting and presentation. I think it's an enjoyable album, and I would also just take this time to recommend the Supertramp collection, which would add for you a number of other outstanding songs such as Dreamer and From Now On and Bloody Well Right and others like that. So my number 100 album, Supertramp, Breakfast in America.
Dr. Weiner, you seem very restless over there. Now, what
Well, I just
what do
didn't
you
know
think
if Dr.
by your-
Nolan was going to finish his description of Supertramp. I think it's I know Breakfast in America is a great album, all the things you said. That's a good representative album from Supertramp. Excellent band. I like their sound. You know, they were really hurt when Roger Hodgson left. They had that song Like a Cannonball, you know, crazy caveman
Cannonball,
video.
yes.
What did I think?
Cannonball, just the title Cannonball.
I'm sorry, Cannonball.
With the apes running around and
Apes running on stupid video, but
terrible song.
Actually, you know, I have a book about the top 1,000 most influential videos, but we're not here to talk about videos. I agree. Breakfast in America, excellent choice. It's an album. Who knows? Maybe we'll even hear about that later. For me, I guess I'll delve right in with my 100s. Well, actually, I know the 100th album. My 100th album actually comes from a young lady who burst into prominence in the 80s, who's become a big star. Really more for adult listening. I don't think had her pop hits, but really has kind of carved in a niche, maybe with some of the people who, I won't say Carpenters because that's a little too sugary, but maybe Barbra Streisand, maybe some of the adult listeners. The artist in question is Anita Baker. No, I know. The album is Rapture, her first album. She followed it out with giving you the best that I've got, but she didn't really capture the magic. Rapture I put in. It's not a genre of music that's easy listening that you're going to be hearing a lot about me from the list. It's not something I listen to a lot. But here's an album that's representative of what I feel is the best in that. It's got great songs. It's got the song Sweet Love. It's got the song Rapture. The song She Warns, Watch Your Step, in one of the more upbeat numbers. And here's a woman with a soulful voice who fought her way to the top and is really made an impression. Multi-platinum album, great album, Rapture. And like I said, really represents, I think, the good, not too formulaic, not too pop side of this night of soulful ballads that we can all enjoy. I like Anita Baker, Rapture. I like it. My number 100 album.
Mr. Goldman, you seem to have been able to keep a straight face throughout that. What do you think of your counterpart's number 100 choice?
I like the album. I think it's an interesting choice. It's not one that I included on my top 100, and not one that I necessarily would think to include. But I think it's an interesting choice because I do think it's representative of a type of music that we're probably not going to cover a lot here, which is the easy listening.
Exactly. So I have a book on that. It's called 100 Easy Listening Hits.
If we could stop plugging the books, the show would probably move more smoothly.
I didn't mention all my lists. 700 albums.
Rapture is not a choice I have any problem with, and I would recommend it to anybody who she has a beautiful voice, and I would recommend it to anybody who thinks they could get into that type of music. So I have no problem with that selection as number 100. You better go on with number 99 now.
Number 99 comes from a young man who maybe is envied as much for his wife as his musical singing talents, but that's another story. That's another story altogether. Let me guess. The young man is Billy Joel. Now, Billy Joel is someone who really has a fanatical following. You got these people from Long Island, New Jersey. They'll listen to his albums till Kingdom Come. They love it. They'll listen. They'll stand in line for the tickets. I'm not one of these people. I'm not pretending to be one of these people that. What it is.
I understand.
However, I enjoy his music. I like some of his music, especially his earlier music. My number 99 album is Billy Joel Piano Man. His first album has the songs people know, like Piano Man, Captain Jack, that were on the Greatest Hits. Actually, I'd like to mention I think Captain Jack was only on the disc of the Greatest Hits, not that was a bonus for the disc.
Only by discs.
I think one thing we can agree on is discs, but we'll talk more about formats later.
Right.
Also, lesser known songs like songs like The Ballad of Billy the Kid. There's a lot of good music on this. I like it. I think it's Billy Joel before he became very commercial, sold out. When his sound was still a new sound.
Billy Joel making an impact now.
Yes.
As well as
With
back
his
then.
dreadful new single, We Can Start the Fire, but we're not even going to talk about that.
That is, we didn't start the fire. we didn't start the
So
fire.
would you say that you
seriously.
long for the old days of Billy Joel?
I think there's enough good music out there today that we shouldn't have to long for anything in the past. But if you're asking me if I like Piano Man and the early albums more than Stormfront, yes.
I'd
Yes,
have
a
to say
resounding-
something unless Stormfront comes across, say, as number 50 on your list.
We'll just have to wait to see about
Yes,
that.
we will. Now, Mr. Goldman, I couldn't help but notice that you possibly needed, say, a barf bag as Dan was giving his.
No. A barf bag is much too strong. I like Billy Joel. At a level. The preposterousness that Dr. Weiner is referring to with all the New York Jewish kids who carry on about Billy Joel and go see those shows and think he's some kind of god and think New York State of Mind is the greatest song ever written because it sums up their young lives or something is
Dreadful state, New York, I might add.
is just that. It's preposterousness. Billy Joel is all right. I think he's always been sort of an underachiever. He made some interesting music. I would urge anybody who's interested in Billy Joel to go with the greatest hits thing. I mean, there you get some crappy songs because anything you do with Billy Joel, you're gonna get some crappy songs. But
Well
you
said.
get the hits. And you get some good songs. Piano Man's a good song. It's overrated, but it's a good song. And you get some of the other decent Billy Joel songs to deal with an album like Piano Man and to listen to that kind of sort of self-indulgent trash.
All right, it's funny you mentioned that, the greatest hits thing, because greatest hits as well as live albums not included on either of your lists.
Right,
What are the rules?
let's say
Let's
that right
clear that
now.
out,
Let's
yes.
clear that up right now.
Oh, well, I think we'll
People
talk.
may be wondering already, where's Storyteller? They've already been through 2 albums. I haven't heard about Rod Stewart's Storyteller. That's a new album, you know?
Right. There are a few things, just quickly. On my own list, 1989 albums are not included.
And why is that?
It's because I really thought that it would be when you start dealing for me. And this is not to say that any way whether Dr. Weiner's chosen to do it this way is good or bad, because it's not good or bad. But for me, an album needs time to breathe,
Like wine.
like a fine wine.
Believe me, I've seen him at a few of these occasions. Dr. Goldman is quite an expert in and indulger in.
Excuse me. An album needs, especially fine albums, which is all we're dealing with when you start jabbering about a top 100 of all time. We're dealing with excellent albums. And excellent albums that may have been released in '89, and some that come to mind: Joe Jackson's Blaze of Glory, Elvis Costello's Spike is one, and
It's funny you should mention those because I believe Mr. Weiner has included the 1989 albums on his list, so we actually may be hearing.
We may,
Well,
and I have no problem with
You caught me with my pants down. You caught me with my pants down. To be honest, 1989, there were certain artists, there are certain albums, which came out in the early part of the year, which I felt connected to, which I felt that I could not leave out of a top 100 and have other albums replace them. I put in a few albums from 1989. We'll see them as they come along. That was a decision I
I'll
made.
buy that. And I made the choice, and there are albums, Big Daddy, John Cougar Mellencamp comes to mind, Full Moon Fever, Tom Petty, Ricky Lee Jones, Flying Cowboys. There are albums that come to mind. The new David Byrne album, which I think is outstanding.
Brand new.
These are all albums that if you saw such a list from me a year from now, might have snuck in and taken out some other things.
All right, well maybe next year you'll be mentioning those names again.
Well, I'd love to be back, Ed.
All you
All
have
right,
to do is
let's get on
invite
with-
me, Ed.
let's get on with
We're back next year. am I right?
I might just want to quickly add, in terms of compilations and live albums, the basic rule is these need to be albums of original material. So when you say, where's Stop Making Sense, a great album, those aren't original songs. Even something like U2 Rattlin' Hum with some original songs, not eligible. Bruce Springsteen Live, those things aren't eligible.
Right, I think we'll talk more about that later, more about the
Okay,
live
okay.
and compilation greatest hits albums.
Great, okay.
Let's get on with
Super.
the list. Mr. Goldman, would you please?
What are we up to? This is flying by.
And number 99 is a band that I think they have not achieved extraordinary success, although they've had a few hit singles. A local band from the Boston area.
I hope this isn't who I'm thinking it is.
An outstanding band with an outstanding and very beautiful lead vocalist, Amy Mann. And the band is Till
Yeah,
Tuesday.
she's got a pair.
The band has released 3 albums now.
All of them outstanding, all of them highly recommended. Their first album was Voices Carry, which of course had the title track, which was the hit, and that's highly recommended. And their most recent album was Everything's Different Now, and that again is also outstanding, highly recommended. The album that's at number 99 on my all-time list is called Welcome Home. It was their second album. Outstanding. Highly recommended. Great vocals, really interesting, good songs, well written. I just very much enjoy the album. Features songs like What About Love, Sleeping and Waking.
Why Must I Take It So Hard? Is that featured?
Why Must I Take It So
I
Hard?
love that song. Great song.
Is an outstanding song on the album. The Angels Don't Cry. It's the whole album is outstanding. All the songs are good. She's a wonderful singer, and I would
She's
say
someone who, if you're wandering around the Boston area, you might run into.
you might run into, and I have frequently. She's someone. These three albums, and I'm going to lump them all together now, even though I've singled out Welcome Home as the best one, because it is. But these three albums are something to look into, because they're all outstanding. They're certainly overlooked. They can certainly be obtained at a reasonable price now. And
They're all for sale. These are all albums for sale. This isn't an obscure bootleg. This isn't, people often see people like me and Derek talking, they're like, but of course these are people in comic business. They have access to things I don't have access to. These are all albums.
Right, you can go out and just buy these.
You can walk in any record store, unless they're out of it. Don't hold me to this. You can buy
I'm
these
sure
albums.
after today's show they may be.
They may. That's right, Ed.
Now, Dan, you seemed kind of happy with that choice. You look like you were.
Okay, I'll tell you, to be honest with you.
Maybe Till Tuesday had kind of slipped through your frame of mind when you were making your list.
That's
Maybe
a
you're
possibility.
sorry-
Well, I don't want to make any promises. I will say, I was joking at first. I thought he was going to bring in the Del Fuegos. When he said a local band, I know Derek likes the Del Fuegos. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they crack his
I hate that
if they
crap.
crack his top 10.
I don't know who you think that about. I hate the Del Fuegos. I've always hated the Del Fuegos.
Anyway, I like to
Dan has an old crony by the name of Richard Schroeder, who we used to write with
I was glad to see Till
at the
Tuesday.
Village Voice, who used to write wonderful things about the Del Fuegos, and I never understood it.
Okay, let's go on with the list.
Are we going to need a 90, excuse me,
Oh,
are we
I
going to
do
need a 98
now.
song? That's
I
you,
do.
I'm afraid.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Number 98 album is by an artist who I cannot say enough about.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you'll try. I'm sorry.
And who we'll hear from many other times in the in my list, and
Oh,
I'm
really?
sure in Dr. Weiner's too. An artist who may just be the most important artist of the 80s. Someone who's combined rock and soul and fused everything together and really has influenced more bands and more acts than I could name. You turn on the radio at any time and you're gonna hear music that's been influenced by Prince.
The purple one.
And needless to say, I mean everybody knows who Prince is and what he looks like and what he's done. The album that's at number 98 is an album that is a soundtrack from the film Under the Cherry Moon, the album called Parade. The film, let's face it, was a flop. But the album had some great moments, most notably, of course, the song Kiss, which
Instant classic.
is as good as any single this decade, absolutely.
Interesting, maybe if we do a top 100 singles of the day.
Oh, I could throw together that sort of list very quickly. But that-
And where would you place Kiss on such a list?
It could be right at the top, frankly.
Really?
It really
You
could
may
be.
even cash in the number 1 slot.
I'd have to look over my notes, but,
back,
it could be
but
right
back
at
to
the
the
top.
album.
The single is incredible. The rest of the album has its high points and its low points. Its high points including songs like New Position, Sometimes It Snows in April,
Another
Girls and
Lover
Boys,
Hole in Your Head.
Another Lover Hole in Your Head. Those are all fine songs. It gets a little weak. It's certainly not as consistent as his greatest work. But it's an album that any Prince fan will love, and anybody's gotta love Kiss. So it's my number 98 album.
I can't disagree, Ed or Derek. This is a good album. This is an album that didn't make it to my list. The list is a subjective thing. Maybe in another reworking list it might make it. It didn't make it because of what I see as inconsistencies in the album.
And there are
Which
some,
Derek
no doubt.
mentioned.
Songs like I Wonder You, an instrumental Venus de Milo, these aren't albums that are achieving a lot. These aren't albums that go on with what Prince did.
Songs.
No,
These are
as
songs
a matter of fact, which may be attributed to something that Dr. Goen mentioned earlier, which was that it was the soundtrack to a movie.
Oh, and a horrible movie. as someone who loves films, and you might want to purchase my book, 92 Movies with Dan Weiner. As someone who loves films, just how awful that movie was, maybe in some ways biased me and made me keep this album off.
Although
But
Jerome
I
Benton
can't
was
say
very
much for
funny in it, as was Morris Day. They're funny. They're funny in Purple Rain,
which I watched last
These
night.
are
which
funny
isn't a
actors.
great film, but
They're funny men. They're not actors. They're
Right.
not even musicians.
We'll be
But
curious
they're
to see
funny men. Steve Martin's not a singer. He's funny.
These people do different things.
I guess we can't expect
George
to find,
Bush is funny.
we can't expect to find Ice Cream
He's the
Castle
president.
by the time on either of your lists. But let's go on.
Let's move on. Dan.
Okay, I'd like to just for a moment. I think I'd like to bring it. I noticed someone who's in the studio here. I'm sure Derek knows him also. He's a leading instrumentalist in many bands. This is Reginald Weiner. No relation to me. You might want to bend down a little. You might want to. I don't know with the camera. He's someone who's participated a lot. I dare say, and this is probably the same for Derek. I'd say this man was played or produced probably 70 of the 100 albums we're each going to talk about. Here's a man who's all over the music industry.
Well, I'd just like to say I don't want to take too much time away from these two gentlemen. I know you've done a lot of research. I just, was in the area.
No, take it, Ron. Take it easy. This is the kind of spontaneity we strive for.
That's why I love this show.
on
This couldn't
music.
happen on our
Who's
studio.
wrong? Reg.
Reg.
I'm sorry, Reg.
Reg, walk right
I'm
up.
thinking of twin brother Ron. This could never happen on
I
our
was just
studio.
doing a gig nearby at the channel, and I just stopped by, heard about this.
Great to see you.
It's excellent to see you. It's an honor to be here on the set. A fantastic session musician. Fantastic.
I've read all your books, of course. I'm fascinated by.
I have a new one to know. I'll tell you about it
Did you also read the movie one?
Yes. Yes.
In
And
fact,
actually today I saw Family Business. It was horrible. The travesty.
I have a book about it coming out next week.
Excuse me.
In fact, the song Kiss we were just talking about, the revolutionary guitar sound, Ron and Reg, I'm sorry, I keep referring to you, but is it true?
My name is Reg.
I'm sorry. Is it true that in the studio it was your idea to change the sub bass clamoring on that and to produce that sound? And that it's an idea you and Prince have kicked around in Minneapolis?
Yes, exactly. That's true. I was helping produce Shaka Khan in Minneapolis at Prince's studio,
Right.
the Purple Palace, and we were, yes, that's true. We were kicking around ideas with the different amplitudes of bass, and if I might, I'd like to just do a plug for a new album of mine. It's called coming out on Columbia. It's called The Day the Rain Stood Still. It's 20-track double feature album. It's a
You're gonna squeeze it
musical.
all on one disc?
Yes, yes.
One disc.
It's a musical trilogy of the Iliad by Homer. And
That sounds fantastic.
I'd just like to mention that maybe in the future it'll be on your list. I don't want to impose.
I wouldn't be surprised if next year that breaks the top 20 of my list, just judging by some of the work.
1999, Reginald Dwight.
I don't want to make any promises, but I'm excited about
Reg,
it.
it's
Is
great
it
to
true?
see.
Is it true, Reg, that Prince is sticking it to Basinger?
That's true. That's
Well,
true.
then we got a scoop
I-
for
You
you, Ed.
heard it here.
I think our ratings
You didn't hear it on Arsenio.
I think our rating points might have just skyrocketed.
That's right.
I
I don't want to say anything, but Sheila E. is fuming.
Sheila is.
I bet she's fuming. She's fuming when she finds out she's not on my list.
But Day the Rain Stood Still, Reginald.
Yes, by the way,
What's the release date on that, Red? Just so people can get it right to the stores when it comes out.
It's coming out in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Tower Records will have having a sale
Wait,
on
look,
it.
I think we'll be getting a
$22.
fix on the tower later.
Right, 60
yeah, we actually have a remote segment from the tower on our next show.
Oh, excellent.
All right,
Well, I understand it's a revolutionary new packaging concept where you get a little packet of dew.
It's actually bubble gum.
Bubble
It's
gum.
bubble gum in the shape of
A frozen
dog
raindrops, or-
fetus.
Is that taking? Is that taking off from kind of like almost like a parody of the baseball card packaging it is? Will it be similarly dry, stale, unpleasant gum, unpalatable gum?
Exactly.
I always loved the
but
baseball card gum.
intentionally,
I have a book on baseball cards.
intentionally disgusting as a statement.
Exactly, but let me throw this by you. Consider the ability of what's his name, Ulysses,
Yes.
to survive everything, such as the gum. It is made with certain chemicals.
And the
absolute-
timelessness of the Iliad is no doubt paralleled by the timelessness of this chewing gum.
Exactly, and the blindness of Homer is apparent on the cover design of the album.
I wrote a criticism of the Iliad. It was.
I've actually I've
Most have
translated
read the
received
Iliad.
very well by.
I mean, we could just talk the hour away right here, but we gotta get back.
We have to keep going. As far as I'm showing the Iliad at some point because I'd love to take part in that. We're
If
still
there
at
is,
number
I know
97.
who to call.
Okay.
Excellent.
Whose turn was it?
It's your turn. So far, we've been unable to. It's your turn in number 97.
At this rate, we may be here for your remote segment from the tower next week. I'm sorry. I was just on a sitcom. I'm on 98.
I think you should know where you are.
And by the way,
Happy to be right.
Mr. Goldman, I hate to interrupt, but our switchboards are already filled by angry viewers responding to your comments on Billy Joel. Most of them long-distance calls from the 212 area code.
I can only imagine.
Well,
you
hopefully
tell those
security
Jewish
just
boys
moved.
to keep their hormones intact. They can go to all the concerts they like, and they can think whatever they want. I have nothing against Billy Joel. He's a sweetie, you know. And
Anyway, my number
All right, back to
97.
the list.
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead,
97 or 98.
90. I don't
I
know.
believe you're on 97 because Billy Joel
You
was.
said, what was
98.
98?
I'm on 98. Excuse me. I'm going to bring out another artist to continue our tradition of saying artist for a few sentences before we say the name. I'm going to bring in an artist who we're going to be hearing. If I know this man sitting to my left well enough, we'll be hearing from him, and we'll be singing a little later on. He just got a solo album. This isn't that solo album. This is a group effort. This is Tom Petty. The album is Let Me Up, I've Had Enough. Which is something the viewers may be saying about 21 minutes of this. But hopefully not. I'm just kidding, of course. This is an album. This is a good album. This is an example. Tom Petty is an underrated man. The example is of a newer album with some pockets that maybe people don't consider classic Petty. Oh, Reggie, all right, great to see you, Reggie. It's not a it may not be considered a classic album, but it's still just a good album. You've got songs like Jammin' Me, which is probably the last touch of fame Joe Piscopo is gonna have. We didn't mention it.
sure.
You got songs like Runaway Train, My Life, Your World. It's a good album. Petty.
Think about me.
Think About Me. He doesn't have bad albums. Some artists have good albums, bad albums. Petty doesn't have bad albums. This is not one of his classic albums. It's a good album. It's maybe even a great album. I love this album. In fact, this Runaway Train sound is a similar sound as you'll have, same producer as Don Henley's Boys of Summer. It's a great album. Tom Petty. We'll be hearing from him later.
Well, I don't think the sparks are quite flying yet.
I
Mr.
love Tom
Goldman
Petty. I'm going to move this
have
right
to
along.
do-
I love Tom Petty. Let Me Up, I've Had Enough is not an album that I was able to fit into my list. You can't go wrong with Tom Petty. His first album, You're Gonna Get It, Hard Promises, Damn the Torpedoes, Long After Dark, Southern Accents, Let Me Up, I've Had Enough, Full Moon Fever. If I left any out, I'm sorry. Pack Up the Plantation, The Wonderful Life, said he did a few
He's not
years ago.
eligible for the list.
Which is not eligible for the list. You cannot go wrong with any Tom Petty album. That's an outstanding one. A bit of a change for Tom with that sort of synth sound. It worked for him. Everything works for Tom. He's one of the great artists of our generation.
Tom could pick up a banjo and a bongo drum and it would probably work for him.
He's so fun to listen to. What a wonderful voice.
All right, I get a feeling like Tom is going to be appearing on some of the more higher spots in your list.
Well, we'll see.
Let's not promise anything.
All right, let's continue.
I'm gonna
Thanks.
listen to me.
I would keep the list out.
It's an album. Here's someone who's, there's certain artists you've got artists that are in tracks that are a type. Here's a crossover artist who's taken a type of music that's really the root of all this rock and pop we're talking about, and that's blues. I'm talking about blues. Here's someone who's taken that blues sound with his great voice, great lyrics, songs of betrayal, songs of anger, a woman who done him wrong, so to speak. Here's someone who's taken that blues sound, that blues guitar. He's done a great job with it. He tours with Eric Clapton. He does a great job. I saw them in Providence.
I think I know who you're talking.
Guess away, Ed.
No, you
I'm
go
sorry, Robert Cray.
Young
Bob.
Young
would've-
Bob, known as
I would have gotten it.
The album is Strong Persuader. This is a great album. You've got songs like Because of Me is a great song. There's just no doubt. That's a great song.
Right
Smoking
Next
Gun
Door.
is a great song. Because of Me, Right Next Door.
Yeah.
These are just all good songs. New Blood. Help me. We've got other songs.
More Than I Can Stand
More
is
Than I Can Stand is
outstanding.
great.
I guess I Showed Her is outstanding. Foul Play is outstanding. It's an outstanding
I
album.
suspect Foul Play. This is a great album. it's him crossing over. He's bringing the blues into pop. He continued it with "Don't Be Afraid of the Dark," another great sound. It may sound a lot like Smoking Gun, but when a song sounds that great, I don't care if they sound the same.
Absolutely.
These are great songs. Robert Cray, he's a great artist. He's done a lot. He's right in there with me.
Well
Sounds
said,
good.
and there's nothing more
I
to
don't
say.
even think we have to hear from Mr. Goldman unless it's your
Nothing
next
more to say
issue.
except go buy Strong Persuader if you haven't already. On disc. Only on disc.
I think the only thing we need to hear from you is your next.
Oh, I'd like to say one thing.
I'd
By
like
the way,
to say-
if you're still purchasing vinyl LPs, turn off the television and go away because I don't even want you watching me.
No, we don't mean that, folks. but you might want
I
to
do.
consider.
I do.
You might want to consider the switch to tapes or CDs.
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 Not to tapes. Digital is the way to be. I'm telling you. Anyway, coming in for me at number 97 is an artist who I know is going to appear frequently on both of our lists. Just an outstanding artist. Artist is Joe Jackson. This is one of his earlier efforts. The album is I'm the Man.
Oh. Wonderful.
It's a wonderful album. Joe Jackson's career started. He did some. He had
Tell us everything you know about Joe while he
he had some earlier albums. One of which was I'm the Man, and it's outstanding. A lot of the songs that you may know on your radio, and Fools in Love, and I'm the Man, are songs you're familiar with. Then there are other songs like Geraldine and John and Kind of Cute that are excellent. All of Joe Jackson's albums. This is another artist you're going to be hearing about all night long. Go buy these albums.
I'd like to point out, these are albums that are now listed at $9.99, $10.99.
These are not albums you have to pay through the nose for.
These are albums that even at your fancy, overpriced mall
You
outlet,
go in and they
they're
throw
gonna
it
be
at
$11.99.
you.
You walk in, they're gonna, and most records, they're gonna throw these albums at you. These are
Right, you may
budget
have to-
CDs.
you may
There's
have
no
to
reason
say-
for you not to own
You
them.
may have to say sort through one of the bins in the front of the store to
Oh,
find.
it might be in a budget bin, but that's not quality. That's price. Get these albums.
What is
Buy
the
these
quantity of these CDs?
Thousands of these CDs are produced.
These
every
CDs
day.
are available.
These CDs are out there. It's a matter of you making the
These
effort to
CDs
go out and buy them.
Are readily available.
Okay, let's continue.
And number 96 is an album by a band I know we're going to be hearing a lot of. Some people would call them the greatest American band, the most influential American band. 3 letters? No, not 3 letters. Some people, I know who he's talking about, and some people would call them the greatest
I'm sorry.
American band. This is who probably the other people would call the greatest American
don't-
band.
I-
The band led by David Byrne.
Oh.
It has done outstanding things throughout.
The Talking Head.
Talking Heads.
A Reg with the call.
Brazilianos. They're a wonderful band. The album that's at number 96 is an album that there was a really innovative album for them. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work as well or as in a special way as some of their other work. But it's great pop music. It's a nice sound. Nothing on it is less than good. Some of the stuff is great. Songs that stand out, they had their hits "Road to Nowhere" and "She Was" and "Stay Up Late" from it. Other songs stand out like "Perfect World" and "Creatures of Love." It's a good album. The album's Little Creatures, and it's my number 96 album.
I have nothing but agreement. I love this band. You're gonna be seeing them. You're gonna be seeing them featured later on both of our lists. I would add "The Lady Don't Mind," which is a song I love.
Absolutely.
Only throwaway song on this album is maybe "Give Me Back My Name." Not a favorite of mine. This is an album I was unfortunately unable to include, but again, wish I could. I love it. I have the CD. I'm sure Derek has the CD. If you don't have the CD, go out and buy it. Go to a
The
record store
record's
and buy
not
it.
good enough.
The record. If you buy records, I want you to turn off the TV.
We will hunt you down, and we will kill
I want you to turn off the television right now and go buy a compact disc player. Because
No,
you don't
you
want to
can-
hear it.
folks, you can do
This
it.
station doesn't want
Folks,
to
you
hear
can do it after the show.
I'm sorry.
Okay, now go moving right
Moving
along.
right along.
And 95 more of these.
We're on 90, moving quickly, speedily. In fact, I hope we're not giving anything short shrift here. We're on 96. We're on an artist that I'm going to come right now and be honest. This is someone who you don't see often on best lists in terms of quality. She's all over the charts, believe me. She sells the albums. She's
I
the
think
biggest
I know
thing.
who you mean.
She's the biggest thing since Wonder Bread, to be honest.
Who could it be?
She's an American. This is someone you're not going to see on one of Derek's lists. This, you're not going to hear Derek. you'll probably, you know, I'm gonna preempt any arguments he's gonna make because he's obviously gonna jump all over me. This artist, you know, what? This is a word. It's one word. You say this anywhere in the country, they know who you're talking about. We're talking about Madonna.
Going out on a limb.
No one's gonna say she's not popular. No one's gonna say she's not a trendsetter. No one's gonna argue that. What people will argue with is they're gonna say this isn't good music. There's nothing interesting here. She's an MTV created video.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Mr. Goldman's very eager to say those things.
Well, I'm sure he is.
I'll let Dan play his own devil's advocate for the time being.
I'm gonna pull away from this self-evident. I'm gonna advocate this young lady at this point. This is Madonna. The album's True Blue. I look at Madonna. I look beyond the looks. I look beyond the video. I look beyond the crass commercialism. I see someone who's an artist. I see someone who's a pop artist in the context of the '80s. In the same way that someone like, in the same way that someone like George Michael is, in the same way someone like Elton John was in the '70s, though I wouldn't put her at that level. She's someone she's improving with each album. She's doing a great job. I listen to this album, True Blue Playful Song. I'm having trouble talking. She gets me a little excited. Open Your Heart is a great song. Papa Don't Preach, a controversial song. You don't hear pop artists talking about keeping your baby.
Now,
I'm keeping my baby.
Can I ask you a question?
Papa Don't Preach, I'm keeping my baby.
If she's improving with each album, why is her latest album not ahead, or will we be seeing it later in the list?
Well, I'm actually have compiled this list. If the album's on, she's improving with each album, but that doesn't necessarily mean she's gonna fit right in. What I'm trying to say is that's not reflected in
Don't
my
worry,
list. What I say and what's on my list are two different things. My opinions are not necessarily reflected in this list. This list is it's an entity. It's taken on a life of its own. I disagree with many of them, so I just did this list. Anyway, I like Madonna. I think this is a good album. I think there's good songs on it. La Isla Bonita, just a silly, stupid Caribbean song, but it's good. It comes at you. Great videos, great artist, sexy lady. I like the album.
Okay, Mr. Goldman.
I mean, it's nonsense. I mean, it's total nonsense. I mean, Madonna's fine. You know, she's certainly been a big hit with people. True Blue, as her albums go, isn't bad. If I was gonna say any of them, I think her first album was less offensive than the second, which was less offensive than the third. So I would argue actually that if anything, she hasn't improved because her
Maybe
first
you're just
album,
easily offended.
her first album is sort of soulful and interesting for what it is, and Like a Virgin has some moments, although some terrible moments. True Blue doesn't show me much. Open Your Heart is an adequate single. A couple of those other songs are okay singles. Papa Don't Preach is nonsense. Papa Don't Preach, I'm keeping my baby.
But, so you would argue that it wasn't...
The album is certainly not worthy of being on anyone's top 100 list of all time, specifically someone as eminent and generally as reasonable as Dr. Miner. We'll leave it at that.
Okay, moving right along.
Here's an album by a man who's part of what really people call who is really considered to be in a triumvirate with Petty, who we've talked about, with Springsteen, who I'm sure we're going to talk about. His name's Bob Seger.
What about Cougar?
Cougar is considered coming into that triumvirate, competing with that triumvirate. He's now considered a part of it. They were there before he was. We may hear from him. And by the way, it's Mellencamp actually now. This is the album Stranger in Town by Bob Seger. It's a great album, and I'm going to be honest here, this is the disc I don't have. You know, you're hearing me preach and saying, go out and buy this disc. When this show ends, I'm going to go out and buy these. I practice what I preach. This is a disc I'm going to go out and buy.
Papa Don't Preach.
Papa Don't Preach, I'm keeping my baby.
my baby.
Exactly. Ed's there's a message there. This is a great album. I love Seger. He's going to be appearing later on. I love his blend of music. Sure, it's a little repetitive. He's sold out a little with this whole shakedown thing. But he's there. He's there in some ways because he never got as big as a Springsteen. There's something more special to him. There's something I like about Seger. More specifics with the album you might want to help out with, you might want to add.
Yeah, Seger's great. He's had a great career. Night Moves is his classic album. There's no doubt about that. Stranger in Town is also a very good album. there's lots of Seeger stuff out there to get. 9 Tonight, the live album, again, not eligible for our list, just
came out on disc.
released on disc finally after
And you'd recommend
long waited. We've definitely recommend it and Live Bullet, which
you said it
has
was
been available.
worth the wait for the
Absolutely
9
worth the wait. The wait was
At times I wasn't sure during the wait, you know, if it would be worth it. Now that it's out and I have it, it's no question.
the wait was torture. Let's face it. But the album is
No one likes to wait.
The album is out.
Tom
Night Moves is Night Moves, which actually is not on my list.
Night Moves is not on your list.
No.
Though you consider it a better album than Stranger in
Bob Seger did not make my list, but I very much like Bob Seger, regretted leaving him off my list, and Night Moves is an absolutely indispensable album. The songs Night Moves, Rock and Roll Never Forgets, The Fire Down Below, Main Street, everything on it.
Nothing's coming out
tonight.
tonight. Come to pop.
Everybody knows the songs, and everybody loves the songs. Go buy the disc, and buy Stranger in Town.
So though Night Moves,
Thumbs up. Buy Night Moves, but if you can only afford one, buy Night Moves.
though the disc that Weiner picked was Strangers in Town. Bob Seger.
And don't tell me you can't afford it. There's got to be something you can sell to get the $11, $12 to go buy this disc.
Some of the people I respect the most in the world have hawked some incredible items in order to afford music that's indispensable.
I know a young lady, very much in love with her husband, a wonderful marriage. She pawned her wedding ring so she could get the Bruce live set. Some people, people laughed her, people scorned at her. I shook her hand. I said, your husband's still there. The ring's just a symbol. That's great music.
Right. I'll tell you this.
And I had sex with her.
You can't.
So
I'll tell you can't listen to a ring.
You can't listen to a ring.
And
It
with-
certainly won't fit in your display. That's for sure.
And with that, let's move on with the list. I believe the next selection is made by.
I just done two. Excuse me. Yes, I did 2 in a row, didn't I?
It's
Madonna and
Mr.
Stranger.
Goldman.
Okay, coming in at
Gold.
number 95, once again, an artist we're going to hear a lot from both of us. The most successful album from an artist, I don't think his best solo album, Peter Gabriel's album, So, is the number 95 album. It's a good album with some great moments. His song with Kate Bush, Don't Give Up, is beautiful. And there are other great moments on it. Everybody knows the hit Sledgehammer and Big Time.
I'm not gonna tell you Big Time's a great song.
As Red is
It's fun.
It's fun. It's a lot
In
of
Your
fun.
Eyes, which
In
has
Your Eyes,
recently become much
which
more
is-
popular as it's been released on the
As it's been
soundtrack
released
of
on the
Say
soundtrack,
Anything.
Saying Anything, and them holding the box up and the thing and all the nonsense. I liked it better before I had to see the nonsense, but it's an outstanding song. The album's excellent. Nothing on it is less than good. It's a very good pop album, very smooth. The sound quality of the disc is excellent. It's the type of album that matters.
Right, I remember reading that in your companion book, You and Your Disc.
Yeah, that was in volume 2. But I reiterate that in my third volume, which
As
is
much as I normally will tell you, don't go out and buy an LP. So you're better off not having it than having the LP. Don't come to me and say I have the LP. I don't need the disc. Get rid of the LP. I'd rather you don't have this album at all than that you have the LP, because you're not going to enjoy it. You're not going to enjoy Excellent Birds. You're not going to enjoy. You're not going to enjoy
Excellent Birds,
We
an
Do It
old
With
Laurie
Joy.
Anderson song,
You're not gonna enjoy these
which is really an interesting thing. Go buy So, it's excellent. But if you don't have other Peter Gabriel albums, there are others you want more. Is all.
I wouldn't want someone who said, I've
Right.
never heard of this Peter Gabriel. That sounds interesting, Derek. I'd like to buy one. Don't go buy
That's
some.
one thing I'd like to say is don't run out now and just start buying these things because we still have some 92, 93 more entries to go.
Sure. One comment, one overrated song, the opening song, Red Rain. Just personal opinion.
Can I just make a comment here?
Reg!
I question the whole thing where you better have it on disc. You get a disc from 1972, the quality's not going to be that good. You get an AAD disc and stack it up against a 1990, 1989 produced tape, the sound quality's going to be about the same.
Reg, I respect you as a musician. I respect you as an artist. I don't think you know. I think you're out of line. I don't think you know what you're talking about. I don't think you're qualified to talk about discs, Reg. I'm not gonna.
I'm not a musician.
I'm not gonna come up to you in a studio and tell you what to do with reverb. I'm not gonna tell you what. I'm not gonna go up to you or Quincy Jones and tell you what to do. I don't think you should tell me what if I should buy a disc or not. I don't think
how to
you
write
should.
the bloody book. You can write the fucking book. I'm just talking about the quality of the disc. You're offending your viewers.
I don't think it's appropriate.
Anyhow.
I didn't mean to blow up.
Well, now that
Anyhow.
this tiff has been resolved, I would stick with the eminent Dr. Weiner, who's a foremost expert. This guy is not a surgeon; he's a doctor in sound quality.
No, and that impression can be gained by anyone if they read his book, Your Disc and You.
Right. He's a doctorate the official doctorate is in
What is your
sound
doctorate?
quality.
I have a PhD in sound quality from the University of Michigan.
I see.
So, I mean, if I gotta listen to him in a tiff with Reg, who, let's face it, is an adequate musician at best.
I resent that.
Everybody was very pleasant to me when he appeared here because no one knew who he was.
Okay,
And
we can
that's
talk
fine.
about sound quality, we can talk about CDs, we can talk about the new digital tape.
I'm gonna move on. Number 94. There's gonna be a lot of reggae on this list. This is reggae from an artist who has his own style of reggae. I saw him live this year. He's fantastic. He's a lot of fun. He's a little bit deformed. He's a little bit funny looking, but he's got a very, very smooth, stylish sound. He's got sort of a DJ type sound. He does some rapping.
Now are you speaking of Dennis Johnson from the South?
No, disc jockey. He's one of the. He's sort of one of the people who I think was sort of did some precursor to rap type stuff. A very soothing sound again, like taking a bath listening to this guy's music. The guy's Yellow Man. And the album is King Yellow Man.
In fact, I think his record company took a bath on his last album.
The album is King Yellow Man, and it's just outstanding. Any of you people out there who like reggae, who aren't familiar with Yellow Man, you're gonna have fun with Yellow Man, and I could recommend any of Yellow Man's albums. King Yellow Man is kind of the commercial one, has a lot of the stuff, the version of Keep On Moving that he does, and a lot of the stuff that more people know. But there are about 10 or 12 Yellow Man things that can be obtained on disc, and they're all worth having. So number 94 is Yellow Man, and I would urge
Dan, you sort of have a puzzled, lost look on your face.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not so familiar with Yellow Man. I'm not gonna make huge judgments. I'm a little uneasy that you've got a list. You know, moments ago we were told Night Moves, Bob Seger didn't quite make it onto this album, this list. That's fine. I say to myself, okay, we'll see what happens. Then I find out that this color Yellow Man, that this Yellow Man is on it. And it's just, I'm not going to make a judgment. I don't know the music. Maybe I would listen to Yellow Man and throw out my Bob Seger albums and buy it.
Certainly you would if they're not CDs.
If I've already thrown out anything that's not CDs. I'm a little on the knees. I don't want to press the matter. I'm a little at ease. Though that has nothing to do. Also, that has to do with the meal I had before. It has nothing to do with the list. Here's a choice that when I put this on, when I thought of this, I saw this album and I said, put that on. It's an album not a lot of people know. It's an album that didn't, and a single, it didn't.
See, I want to explore that more, the thought process behind the list. But go on.
Okay, we can get into that later.
I'd love to explore that too.
I want to explore the list as its own self.
That's a very good. I've written actually a book about the nature of lists.
I've written such a book too. I believe mine was better received than yours. I also have a book called
To the people you sent free
I also
copies
have a
to.
book called The List's Mind's Eye. And it's a
So
wonderful.
that's something from sort of the perspective of the list.
Look
No! No!
That's the delusion.
No!
I'm
It's
sorry,
a list
I
from the
was-
perspective of a person hearing about a list from a person who saw a list. And so it's a very interesting thing because what you have is the perspective of a person.
Misleading.
No,
The
the title is not misleading. What the story ends up dealing with is the list's mind's eye.
Is this fiction?
Oh, not at all.
I just wish you had told me about
It's
this
a
like when we
scientific
set this
study.
thing up before the holiday season, because I know a lot of my friends would now have that book had I known.
Everybody has that book, yeah. It's an interesting book.
Funny, so
What's
I
great about the book, and what was exciting and enthralling for me as I worked through on it, is that it's a book about lists from the perspective of someone who's never seen the list. And that,
I can leave if you'd like to talk about his book.
Now, Mr. Gomez, I'm sorry, we have a list to go.
Inherently, I find that stimulating.
We have our own list with our own minds.
We're all stimulated by different things.
Now let's continue.
My partner apparently is stimulated by Madonna.
stimulated by Liszt's mind's eye. Anyway, here's an album. It didn't receive. This is a funky sound. This is a mixture sound. This is a fusion sound. It might sound pop. It might sound normal to some, to people living in New York, Boston, or having AOR radio. They're gonna play hip things like this. This is natural. A lot of the country this wasn't played. I'm talking about Sun City. Artists Against Apartheid. This is something you didn't hear in other parts of the country. This is something that wasn't so well received. It came on the heels of, you've got Do They Know It's Christmas? Great song. You've got We Are the World, which is such a piece of Lionel Richie, Michael Jackson schlock trash.
And we all seem to be in agreement on that.
I don't think we need to argue about that, am I right?
Despite its financial and popular
Despite its, that $80 million has really, ended hunger in Africa. Oh, yeah, Bob Geldof. Okay, but that's another story. I have a book
That's a
about
whole
that.
other show.
I have a book panning
Don't
that
blame
down.
Bob Geldof. Bob Geldof was a great.
Oh, he did what he could, but
You
I'm
wrote a hell
sorry.
of a song too.
I understand there's a section in the Encyclopedia Britannica about your views on Bob Geldof.
As well there should be. He's never recovered from the scathing article I wrote about in the New Yorker. But that's separate. The point about Sun City. Sun City is funky. You've got the Temptations.
Little Steven.
You've got Little Steven organizing it. You've got Bono. You've got Bruce. You've got rappers. You've got the long version with Run DMC and Grandmaster Flash and Curtis Blow. You've got people coming on this album. You've got a rock version. You've got Pat Benatar, Daryl Hall. You've got all kinds of things. You've got some other interesting things. You've got a Peter Gabriel production. This album has other interesting things. Something, show me your passport or your passbook.
Let me see your ID.
Let me see your ID. Let me see your ID.
Subtitled Show Me Your Passport.
Subtitled Where the Hell's Your Passbook? This is a great album. This had something to say. It's an album I felt I wanted to put on.
And Mr. Goldman, you look like maybe this was an album you forgot about.
No, not at all. I didn't forget about it at all.
Could Dr. Goldman ever be wrong about something?
It's a good album. It has some silly moments and some moments that are a mess. The Sun City single is great. Great song that Dan mistakenly referred to, Let Me See Your ID, is outstanding. Then there's stuff that's
What's the Peter Gabriel track? Is that Let Me See Your ID?
No More Apartheid.
No More Apartheid. That's an
outstanding
outstanding track.
Outstanding song. Yusu Endor, who also appears on that song.
Who appeared in So, In Your Eyes, we spoke about earlier.
Yes. It's a good album, not a good enough album to be on such a list, but a good album. And
Let me cross it right off. I'm sorry.
And one worthy of acknowledgement simply because it was out for a great cause, as opposed to all these others
out for themselves,
arrogant, selfish artists who will spend most of the rest of our program.
who I spent probably hundreds of thousands of dollars indulging in their music. I can't help it.
And who appear higher on the list.
Many of which will appear on the list.
Let's continue.
Anyway, let's continue. You have one more to give. What number are we on?
We're up to 93. We're racing. Here's an album you don't need to say much about. It's Breakfast in America. It was Dr. Goldman's 100. I agreed with it then. I agree with it now.
Appearing slightly higher on your list.
Slightly higher.
Long Way Home
9300.
is classic.
Oh, take the Long Way. These are great songs. We love the sound. This isn't a group you want to go buy all the albums. We like the sound. Great voice. This is the album to get, the disc to get if you want to get it.
I again urge, buy the collection, get Bloody Well Right, get Dreamer, get Give a Little Bit, get From Now On, get those songs, buy a Greatest Hits collection, and buy Breakfast in America. Bag all those other albums.
We didn't mention the song Breakfast in America. Great song.
Excellent
Great
test
song.
track.
Let's continue.
Number 93 is the first album from a hard rock band, achieved a great deal of success. Fronted by David Lee Roth, of course, the band fan.
These are rockers.
These are rockers.
These are men not afraid to rock.
These people are these people.
I like to point out Derek and I, you might be saying these are soft rock, this isn't that much. We're not afraid to rock.
Neither of us are afraid to rock. Neither of us are afraid to rock. And this list will prove that, and I think this album being placed on
I
this list will
I hate to interject here, but just because this show appears Sunday afternoons on Channel 37, you have to stick a coat hanger in the back of your TV to get the station. We're not afraid to rock either.
No, but judging my last week's show, I'm gonna show
Right,
you.
we're still
Rolling
repairing the
Stones
set.
made
We're
up
still
here.
repairing the set. Anyhow, continue, Mr. Gold.
This album isn't afraid.
Great album.
Isn't afraid to rock. It's a great album. David Lee Roth.
Famous crying.
Admittedly, David Lee Roth got very excessive in the 80s and became, I think, by the middle of the 80s, utterly despicable and tiresome. Everybody was tired of seeing him running around in those crazy
If it wasn't for
outfits.
MTV, they would have packed him away long
With
ago.
those
and they
crazy
did
girls,
soon
and then he
after.
made those two dreadful albums, Eat 'em
Oh.
and Smile, and something about a skyscraper.
Sky and
and
Smile
jumping up
after
and
that.
down. And basically what I would like to do is Eat 'em and Smile, but it's a whole other story. The first album, Van Halen, there's not a bad track on it. Some of it's bad.
Feel Your Love
Tonight is
Oh,
outstanding. Ice Cream Man is a lot of fun. Jamie's Crying is great. It's an outstanding album. It's my number 93, Aaron.
Okay, back to you, Mr. Warner.
All right. Actually, I gotta do number 92.
No, he's gonna do 92.
Right.
Anything to say about that? Number 92
You said it all.
is an album from a band that started out with some really good work, and recently with some hit material has slided into some lesser stuff. Now, excuse me. Now has a new album out, and the new album is called Book of Days. The new album goes back to the roots of this album and their earlier albums. The band's Psychedelic Furs. The album is Talk Talk Talk.
If any sarcastic or knowing looks are passing in the home viewing audience as to the title, I'm with you.
The album is Talk Talk Talk. We're not with you. Songs on it, of course, the original version of Pretty in Pink, which they later glossed up and put on that terrible movie, it appears on this album. This
I'm
band stuff.
noticing a trend here with good music, terrible movie.
Oh, I don't like movies in general. I like music. I'll often go to a movie with a blindfold on and listen to the soundtrack.
I have never done that. Talk 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 is a good album. The Furs also have their first album, Forever Now, which are excellent. Mirror Moves, which has the songs you might know, The Ghost in You, songs like that is on it. Then they got Junkie with Midnight to Midnight, which had Heartbreak Beat and Shock, and that got really junky. They have a new album out called Book of Days, which is excellent. A new single
How's
called
that?
House, and it's rocking. It's outstanding. It's
They're
back,
not afraid to
it's,
rock.
It's back to the old, real, sometimes some people find Richard Butler's voice a little bit abrasive, a little harsh. They rock. They're part of the punk movement that was with the Clash. They've migrated in a little bit of a different direction. They're still a very good band. Go catch them in concert and buy this album.
Buy the disc.
Yes,
Is this something you buy on disc?
Oh, absolutely. Everything on my list, plus dozens of others, are by.
I'd like to make it a claim right now. Everything on this list is available on Compact.
Now, right, many of them
Not
say
true.
a surplus of them in the stores.
Many of them, to be honest, I've been talking to retailers. They don't know what to do with all these discs. Especially after Christmas, they're overstocked. They don't know. They're cutting prices. Sell your car, go to the tower, and buy some discs.
Right. Let's continue with our
What is the
list.
nature of these discs?
These discs they're 5 inches in diameter. They're flat.
Anyhow,
flat
let's
like-
continue with the list.
Okay, I'm sorry. Are we 92? Am I 92?
Yeah.
My 92. Here's a man who really, he really kind of created out of the early 70s, late 60s, really kind of started the singer-songwriter tradition. Wonderful voice, even somewhat hyper. I don't think there's anyone who can't listen to this man sing and not relax and enjoy themselves. He says, just thinking about him, Mr. Goldman, it brings a smile to your face, I can see. It's James Taylor. He has a wonderful voice, a wonderful talent for songwriting, soothing, stripped down arrangements, not all this funky overnight trash like Reg layers on these things. Very pleasant. I just feel good thinking about it.
Very soothing. Very nice.
The album is Sweet Baby James. It's his first. He came into prominence. You've got Sweet Baby James on it. You've got Fire and Rain. You've got A Friend. Is that on this album?
No.
I love that song though. I just have to bring another song. It's a great album. He's an artist. He let it be known that he was going to make an appearance, that he would be around with this album. Recently, he's not someone who's continued strong into the 80s. His time was the 70s, but he had a lot of great albums. When you
And we're
come
not
home-
confined to the 80s here. This is of all time.
Oh, I have albums from the 30s and 40s and 50s. There's albums. We're not confined to the 80s at all. He's a great singer, relaxing singer. James Taylor, I can't say enough about him. Sweet Baby James.
I'm so glad, Dr. Weiner, that this list is not. I didn't squeeze this album on my list. It was very close. I like
Left
the
on
album
the
a lot.
cutting room floor, so to speak.
It's James Taylor's best album, in my mind. It's you know, JT is also excellent, the album JT, but this album is his most perfect. It's delightful. Buy it.
Buy the CD.
It's available. It's not, now you say, James Taylor, do I need the disc? I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Just get the disc.
Right. I don't even think that's an issue anymore.
No.
All right, let's bring on the next selection.
Okay, next we've got an album here that's all these top 10 lists of the 80s. It's right in there. Everyone loves it. It was a big splash. I think it won the Grammy for Best Album 3 years in a row. God knows what they do with these Grammy arrangements. It's Paul Simon, Graceland. He went to South Africa. He got the people. He's got the singing. I like this album. I love You Can Call Me Al. I love my favorite songs. You Can Call Me Al, Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes, That Was Your Mother, Graceland title track. These are great songs. I like the sound.
Dr. Weiner, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I remember when I read your companion disc, The Disc and You, back in, I think, 87, you seem to speak a lot more strongly about this album than you did in your latest 89 companion.
And you couldn't have set me up better for my next point, which is simply, this is an album that to me has faded a little. It became too much of a fad. Him bringing in these sounds isn't anything different. The Talking Heads did it much earlier with Remain in Light. This is something that has gone on.
And might I say, that's why it's important to come out with one of these companion books each year.
That's why, you know,
or in your case, as you do 2 or 3 of them.
Every 5 months I put out one of these. Buy it because things are going to change. Graceland was my number 3 album of all time just 5 months ago. It's now 92. That's going to happen. It faded for me. I like it. I like Paul. I don't like what he did in the 70s. I love Simon and Garfunkel. This is a good album. Buy the disc. Great sound quality with Ladies with Black Mambamza. Buy their albums.
Oh,
This is
I have a question.
Reg.
Suppose you were down to your last $10. Would you have me buy, like, the number 62 disc, whatever it may be, or buy one of your disc mates?
Well, I know if I was
help
down,
me buy.
I know if I was down to my last $10, I'd have you buy me a lot of stuff.
Good idea.
The question is where.
Buy my book, because eventually you're going to have more money. My book is the gateway to not only more discs, but more money. If you buy my disc, you're going to end up with more money. If you buy my book, you're then going to be able to buy more discs. Buy the book. This is just music.
I have books too, but we'll talk about those later. Those speak for themselves, and I'm sure most of our viewers already have those books.
Don't
Absolutely no problems with Dan's choices there. Everything he said is true. One thing I would disagree with is he snuck in a comment about I don't like Paul Simon solo stuff from the 70s. Don't know why not. Great album, still crazy after all these years.
I like that. I like that.
Right, let's see if we see those later. And then
One great
will
album
be still crazy after the years of filming.
One great album after another there. We're gonna have to speed things up to get through these descriptions a little faster.
Al was just cueing us.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm gonna start to do that. Doesn't mean the fun has to stop. Just means we're gonna have to move through a little bit
Just
quicker.
means there'll be more fun in less time.
Right. Number 91 is an album by an artist who initially started as a guitarist doing work with Bruce Springsteen. Initially came on the scene in that way. Someone we've discussed some already in terms of his involvement with the Sun City Project.
He's a small man.
A small man, and really an interesting character. A guy with a lot to say. Has tended to get a little preachy in recent years with his album Freedom No Compromise, which is basically a collection of sort of angry anthems. And what he's saying is very valid and sometimes very vivid and powerful. On that album, it tends to bludgeon you a little bit, not unlike Bonnie Tyler's song Total Eclipse of the Heart,
Right.
which bludgeoned us 8 years ago.
Don't steal my thunder. She'll be on my list later.
Right, I know.
Not.
But the album is Little Steven's Voice of America. It's a great album. Combines lots of different sounds. Does not fall into his trap of bludgeoning us because he's much more subtle with it. Great album. Songs like Desaparecidos, the disappeared ones, very powerful. And The River Opens for the Righteous, which sort of has a reggae beat, which Jackson Brown recently covered on his New World in Motion album. A Voice of America, Solidarity. The songs, 10 songs, they're all outstanding.
These songs rock a little.
It is a bit, they definitely rock. It's an angry album. It's a powerful album. The lyrics say something, which is always nice. He sings in he's not a great singer, not a great singer, but he sings with conviction and commitment, something I'm sure he picked up from his fellow Bruce. And he can play guitar with the best of them. It's an outstanding record.
You're really just not making them any more brief.
Anyway,
Alright, Dan
He's
seems
ready to write on this show. I'm sorry. Okay.
Reg is just stopping in with us. We like to have someone who's actually a part of the creative end of the
That's true.
industry.
That makes sense.
Right.
As an author.
No.
But let's Dan seems happy with that choice.
Oh, I'm
Maybe
happy.
not
I love
exactly
it.
where he
You
placed it.
summed
Maybe
up.
not exactly, but he seems happy. Let's move on.
and number 90, an artist we've already heard from. Joe Jackson making another appearance.
I can't have enough of it.
Second appearance already with an earlier, with another early album from him, coming in slightly higher than On the Man, which you already heard about, is Beat Crazy. Excellent, excellent album.
I also think a good statement. Sometimes just be crazy.
Beat Crazy is the name of the album.
The album actually beat crazy. Yes, beat crazy.
Beat.
No, but don't tell me he didn't intend the statement be crazy.
He's got a point.
Anytime that you don't buy this disc, you're crazy. And I think what Ed is saying, our distinguished host Ed, is saying that be crazy, don't buy this album, be sane, buy it. Great songs, Battleground, Be Crazy, they go on and on. If you like Joe Jackson, even if you don't like Joe Jackson, if you don't like Joe Jackson, frankly, you're a dick face. So
I don't want to hear from you if you don't like Joe Jackson.
So buy Be Crazy, number 90.
Turn off the station
Number
right
90. One other thing we're not doing is focusing on the numbers.
90. Well, we made it through 10. The show's only, what, an hour and a half old? We made it through 10. At this rate,
15 hours.
at this rate, you know, we'll be out of here.
Okay, let's move on to
Number 90, I'm going to go quickly. Here's an artist we've heard from. I love him. Great voice. Sweet Baby James considered his best album. I've got Gorilla a few notches higher. I like Gorilla. I love the song Gorilla. I love Lighthouse. Sometimes I feel the song's hitting home right now. I love the song Lighthouse. I love You Make It Easy, Sarah Maria. It's a great album. I love his sound, James Taylor. I like it. It's my favorite album from him. That's my number 90. My number 89, as we move into the next decade, here's a band that an earlier artist we heard from left. Genesis. It's the album Abacab. I see this album as the last album before they went over the edge into some of this garbage just spewing out that got too much towards the Phil Collins pop. Here's an album with some interesting things. Keep It Dark, No Reply at All, Man on the Corner, and we have that on this album. It's a good album. I like the sound. It's when Genesis was still a popular group, but kind of an interesting, maybe a little loud, angry sound. Maybe kind of a strange sound with Keep It Dark with the rhythms. I like it. It's a great album. Abacab. The song Abacab is a great song.
Indeed.
Yeah. I'm glad Dan's throwing in some things like Abacab, a good example that I again didn't get on. It's nice to hear them get the recognition they deserve, because now I'm like, that certainly deserves recognition. You should buy it. It's not on my top 100, but it's a good album. Gorilla to me is no Sweet Baby James or even JT.
Reg will catch
but
Thanks, Reg.
But thanks, Reg. But enjoy. Moving along, because I don't want to slide in terms of time, the upper, that's the more interesting part. So
I want to mention, we're spending a half hour on each of the top 20. So, you know, if you need to do something before that.
Right. Moving in for me at number 89 is again a second entry from an artist we've already heard from. We already heard from him with his album Parade, which we discussed at some length. This is the album that he followed up Purple Rain with. And very interesting album. Greeted with incredibly mixed response. Some people didn't like it because they thought that after Purple Rain, so much anticipation for this album after the epic and the classic Purple Rain, and some people were disappointed with the sort of psychedelic, risky sound of
Now,
it.
I think we broke them up a little bit here. Purple Rain, great music, good movie.
Decent music, fair movie, Ed.
A fun movie to watch. I actually watched it last
It's a
night.
series of videos. Yeah, they're great videos. Apollonia Can't Act. You know, it's not a great movie.
We're not here to review a movie.
We're not here to review
We're here to talk about an album
Right,
that doesn't
any
even have a movie with it.
The album that followed.
The album that follows Around the World in a Day. Some great moments. Temptation, the final song on it, is yes, it's a little self-indulgent. It features a rap with God and some crazy instrumental things, but it's all out Prince. If you like Prince, it just comes at you with the salt of a Hendrix-type style. It's got great guitar. It's fun. Raspberry Beret, everybody will agree, a great pop song. The album isn't perfect, but
I don't like Pop Life.
It's got Pop Life is, I thought, a fair single at best. Condition of the Heart is beautiful, very pretty song. Tambourine is a lot of fun. It's a good album. It's my number 89 album, and I think that it got a bad rap because it came out right after Purple Rain, and I think that now it's starting to get, not now, but in the last couple of years, in retrospect, it's starting to get the respect it deserves as one of the 80s better albums.
Right. You can now kind of go back to that and recognize it
Yes.
for what it is.
This didn't make my list. I love Prince. Anything he does is fine with me.
Number
Okay,
88
I guess
for
that
me.
settles that.
Number
Let's move on.
88 for me, an album from a band, from the first album from a band had incredible success throughout the end of the 70s and the early part of the 80s before disbanding the Police. Only made 5 records. This was the first of them, Outland Us to a More, featuring Can't Stand Losing You and Next to You and So Lonely. I mean, what can you say? It's an outstanding record. This is really, they got gradually more polished as they went along. All 5 of their albums are excellent. This one, they won't all appear on this list, although I'd recommend all of them. This one, I like their raw sound better, and it's sort of more exciting. We've all heard those Synchronicity and Ghost in the Machine songs enough. There's a lot of filler on those albums. There's no filler as far as I'm concerned on Outland Us to a More. It's just fun, go-getter type stuff.
This is punk moving into the 80s.
It is. It was a real sort of punk sound, and what's exciting about it is then they went on, they progressed and became big stars, and we recognize them now from Every Breath You Take and Spirits in the Material World and all that stuff by hearing them with this punk sort of raw sound. It's fun to listen to. It's my
Right, which brings
number
up
88.
another point now. Interesting that you would say all 5 of their albums are excellent. You pick one of them, you put it on the list. Is this sort of a representation of the Police, in meaning that you
In a sense,
you
I
chalk
don't
them
think.
up there, and then kind of, in a sense, that represents not only them but their other albums?
In a sense, their first couple, I think that there was a slight, in terms of, one of the things you look for in making a list like this is you look for albums that are exciting. And in a sense, I would say that's true because as they went along, their albums, I think, got a little more calculated, a little less exciting, so that would account for the drop-off.
Right.
Not this drop.
Let's move on with our list.
I'm sorry, your scintillating description of the Police was too much for me. At 88 was a band, it's considered a great American band. They're out of Athens, Georgia. It's R.E.M. It's not a band that I'm very into. They're not one of my top bands. Here's their album where they broke through. Maybe went a little too commercial for some of their fans. The album is Document. Great songs on this. The songs everyone knows. The one I love. It's the end of the world. I know it as we know it. I feel fine, but I feel fine.
That kind of reminds me of Papa Don't Preach. I'm keeping my baby.
That's
The end of the
something
world as we know it.
that's
feel
something that
fine.
both of those are comments are something to think about.
I
I don't want to trivialize them. My personal favorite, Exhuming McCarthy, great song. I like their sound. Here, I think what they did here, they took their interesting lyrics, they took their sound, they made it a little more accessible. They brought it out, to a hardcore R.E.M. fan. It's selling out. Maybe it's not. I think not. I think this is still good music. They brought it out where more people could enjoy it.
I think the question is a question. It's a very good album. But the question isn't a question of the other albums weren't enjoyable. It's a question of exposure. This was the album where they first got exposed. I think if people went back and listened to their earlier albums, they'd enjoy them just as much. No Problem with Document. It's not on my list because I don't think it's one of our better albums. And no doubt it's a very good album. Agree on all counts on Exhuming McCarthy, one of the best songs they've ever done. And it does rock. Enjoy it. Buy it.
On disc. 87 is a Boston band. It's a Boston band. It's a band we've enjoyed. They're not together now, unfortunately. When they were
I think
together,
I smell Fuegos.
no Fuegos here, thank God. It's a Jay Giles band. It's a band I like. In the past, they great blues soul white band, sounds black. Peter Wolf, great singer. Here's kind of a breakthrough, more pop sounding album. Again, maybe people think too pop, but just a fun, good early '80s album. I'm talking about Freeze Frame. You got the song Freeze Frame, you got the centerfold, a sing-along anthem I think we'll all remember from junior high, high school, wherever the hell we were. some songs not as well known. I love Piss on the Wall, I think, which would have been a jump onto the radio single if it hadn't been for its obviously somewhat risque lyrics. Song Flamethrower, which I think is, as it's no pun intended, as hot a song as you're gonna hear. Great album. I love Jay Giles' band. I was happy to put them here. I like this album.
Again, another example of Dan putting on stuff that I wish I had put on in some ways or had room to put on. Freeze Frame is great. Love Stinks is great. I felt badly that Jay Giles didn't make my list. Buy Freeze Frame, buy Love Stinks, buy their early albums, their 70s
What I'm
albums.
noticing now is, though you disagree with a lot of his line choices, you're still saying those are albums worth buying, worth listening.
I think...
When in doubt, buy an album.
Absolutely. So far, I can't think of anything put on Dan's list with the possible exception of True Blue that I wouldn't recommend for people to buy.
Okay, let's move right along. Mr. Goldman?
Yep. We're now at number 87 is an album that Dan's already set on his list. I can't say enough about it. The one thing, it's Strong Persuader by Robert Cray. He did it already. I'm not even going to harp on it, go by it. One thing I do want to say is also Robert Cray has other stuff that's worth having.
Oh, yeah. Chase it down.
Who's been talking? False Accusations. Who's Been Talking especially is a funky blues album. It's fun to listen to. It's a little less commercialized, which some people will like. And Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, which was his follow-up to Strong Persuader, had some disappointing stuff, but it's got some absolutely great songs. It's a little more soulful. It's a little less raw than Who's Been Talking, and even maybe a little less so than Strong Persuader. But it's fun. Robert Cray is a great artist. Buy his stuff. Get it.
That sounds like all we need to say. Another thing I'm noticing now is even though we may name one, every artist named on this list, it's worth looking into their other work.
Oh,
even
yeah.
if it doesn't appear on the list.
And it's rare that an artist is going to give you one album that's a top 100 quality album and not give you something else to listen
That's
to.
worth looking
Very
into.
rare.
Let's move along.
And number 86 is an artist, John Cougar Mellencamp.
Oh, yeah.
Who can't say enough about. Somebody who started off very inauspiciously and just all of a sudden burst onto the scene with
bang.
You know,
Deal with the devil type stuff.
absolutely some decent singles from American Fool. They were fun. Then an excellent album that had some statement stuff, and then kept going and really burst onto the scene. The album that's at this point is The Lonesome Jubilee.
Oh, yeah.
Outstanding record, featured hit singles. We all know them: Cherry Bomb, Paper and Fire. There's not a bad track on it. It's great.
Great sound.
Mellencamp's great. It's got a great, very inventive, distinctive sound. And he comes in at number 86. I only wish I could have put him higher.
It's a great sound. He's got your steel banjos, your violins. He brings in kind of a southern sound. It's something you don't really hear in pop. He brought it in. It doesn't, and it's not a sellout. It's not some cheap gimmick. It moves from his other albums. You go back and listen to Scarecrow before it. It doesn't sound like, oh, he threw together some new band. It's a great album. I agree. Lonesome Jubilee. Who knows? Maybe we'll hear about it again.
Okay. Little foreshadowing there.
To use a literary term. Did I mention I write books also?
Yeah, you have a few books.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Number 86 is an album that, to be honest, it's a great album. If you're not feeling good, if you're standing on the edge of a bridge, if you're holding the gun to your head, don't put this album on.
If you're holding, say, a smoking gun.
If you're holding a smoking gun, in the words of our friend, this album is Tears for Fears of the Hurting. If you're not feeling good, I don't want you to listen to this album because it's that
But
depressing.
still
it's that
stay
powerful.
tuned to the show.
Yeah, no, don't turn off this show on any decision. It's a great song. This is before they went pop. You've got songs like Change. Listen to the song titles: Suffer the Children, The Hurting, Change,
Watch Me Bleed.
Watch Me Bleed,
Start of the Breakdown.
I mean, you've got lyrics like Watch Me Bleed, Bleed Forever. This isn't a happy album, but they're not
The
trying to
dreams
make
in which I'm dying are the best I've ever
Mad
had.
World.
Quote
And just
from
the name
Mad
of the
World.
band themselves.
Tears for Fears. It's a dark
Good
album.
new album, by the way. I just want to throw in this time. Sowing the Seeds of Love is outstanding.
Right.
By that. The Hurting, it's a good album. Dark lyrics, but an interesting sound, good catchy new wave, synth, but also rhythmic, soulful singing. Great album.
Very good album. Very good album. Depressing as all hell. Again, another example.
Excuse me
Dan
while
got it on his list. I didn't get it on mine. But a very good album. Dr. Weiner and I once were at a conference in London and remember listening to it with him.
Splitting a bottle of bourbon over that.
Absolutely.
More than one bottle, as I recall.
Believe me. Oh, but that's subject for a different show. But I couldn't agree more by it.
Okay, let's move along.
I'm gonna move quickly up to, here's a man we heard from in his duo form.
We're at number 85 now?
We're at 85 here. Simon and Garfunkel, Bookends. I think along with Bridge Over Troubled Waters, one of their great albums. It's a great album. Whether you're from the 60s and you remember those songs from then, whether you're from the 70s, the 80s, no one can deny these two's harmonizing. There are rare cases where there's no one else who's done that. There isn't someone, there's people like it. The Indigo Girls have been called a female Simon Garfunkel. They had something special. You know, you can say Simon did all the work, wrote all the songs. It's true, but you needed Garfunkel's voice. They worked beautifully together. This is a great album. Get it. You just love listening to stuff. I recommend Concert in Central Park, Greatest Hits. Obviously, these are compilations. You can't.
Every
you just enjoy
Simon and
these guys. You
Garfunkel
enjoy
are
these guys.
great.
Bookends.
Wednesday morning, 6 a.m. Fantastic. Bookends, fantastic. They made beautiful music through the 70s. It's nice to listen to. It's not cutting edge stuff. It's relaxing stuff, but they did such a nice job at it. We'll give them a break. Very pleasant. Again, not on my list. I wish to hell it was. And number 85 for me, a band Dan's already mentioned it. It is 85. Is the band from Athens, Georgia, REM. This is their second album. The album is Reckoning. Featured Don't Go Back to Rockville. It's another good REM album. They've had 6 albums. They're all very good. Reckoning, I think, is a more interesting album than Document and tends a little bit more towards the poetic side. So I enjoy that. That's number 85. Coming in number 84 for me is a British band named XTC, and the album is Skylarking. Beautiful album. That includes Dear God. It includes the song Dear God. And
That's not pretentious, by the way. In case you might have thought it was.
It's a beautiful album. Songs like Ballet for a Rainy Day and Grass, the whole thing is gorgeous. They're a great pop band. Some people think they may be the consummate British pop band with just perfect harmonizing and tunes and just fun, kind of gleeful pop. And I've seen some of their albums put at number 1 for the 80s and stuff like that. This album being one of them, very hailed. It's a great album. It's beautiful. I enjoy it. It's number 84.
My number, what am I on? Am I 84? 83? I'm on 84. Here he's back again, the purple one. Dirty Mind, great album. To quote Rolling Stone's Top 100 list, where Marvin Gaye began to creak open I believe the door of sexually explicit lyrics and certain risking. Prince ripped that door off its hinges. You've got Dirty Mind, When You Were Mine, Sister, these are Head. This is a funky album. He's not afraid to say anything. His sound continues to progress. You can't say enough about Prince, Dirty Mind.
Okay, I think we have almost said enough about Prince.
There's more to say, believe me. At 83, we're back to the Giles Band and an album you referred to, Love Stinks. I love this album. 1980. I think this is a consummate pop album. It's got songs like Love Stinks, Comeback, the fun novelty song, No Anchovies, Please. You can't go on.
Just can't wait.
Just
trying to do something.
Try not to think about it. There's
think
another
about
one.
it.
I just love this album. Great album, J. Giles. I
One
love
thing I've noticed about our 80s thing, we're more in a kind of agreement here. I see you two getting along, and I see you two as friends.
Oh, absolutely. Dr. Weiner is an
The
eminent
media
critic.
plays up this whole competition. We write about different things, and we both write so many books that do so well. There's no reason to compete.
There's no reason. There's no
buy all our books, and there shouldn't be a problem.
Buy all of each of our books and compare them.
Whichever one you think's better, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. God knows we have ours. I think my books are better. He thinks his books are better.
Sometimes I think his books are fine.
I managed to get through 1 or 2 of his books.
Coming in at number 83 is an album by an artist who we haven't said anything about yet, but believe me, we're going to. Elvis Costello.
Oh.
The album Elvis Costello with his attractions, the album featured at number 83 is Get Happy. 20 songs, they come right at you. One of them is called Beaten to the Punch. Don't be beaten to the punch. Go buy this record. It's just 20 stuff that comes, everybody knows I Can't Stand Up and Falling Down. A lot of them are songs you may
King's
not
Horse.
know if you don't have the album. It's just a great pop album. one of the, not my favorite Elvis album in some ways, because I like it when he has time to really get going with a song and do something with it, and he's such a wonderful artist, so he never goes wrong, and Get Happy is just another example of that.
And Dan once again seems in.
Oh, great album. I love it. I love all the songs.
All right, let's go on.
Great. Number 82, another artist who I suspect we may be hearing more about, Elton John.
Oh.
Coming in.
I'll back him up on that statement.
Coming in here with the album Madman Across the Water, featuring the title track, Tiny Dancer, Leave On, which I think is a great overlooked Elton song. It's wonderful. It has its off moments, as almost all Elton albums do, some filler stuff. But even the filler on this album, I think, is kind of charming filler.
Oh, yeah.
It's Elton. If you like Elton, you'll like Madman as much as anything else. It's my number 82 album of all time. And after the break, we'll be discussing more about Elton John.
Yes, indeed, we will be. The break will come at 80, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, we're almost
Is
there.
that right, Al?
Right.
Al! Al!
82, I'm just going to pop it in. We've got another, I'm sure you'll like it. You mentioned you love Bob Seger, Against the Wind, another album of his I love. I love Seger. I'm glad to be able to include him again. It's near the bottom of the list. Maybe these aren't my total favorite albums. These are albums I love to
These are
listen
good, solid albums. Buy them.
to. Buy them. The key word here is buy, whether it's our books or the albums or the discs you buy.
Purchasing.
Buy.
Purchasing.
Buy.
Buy.
Synonyms, whatever.
Okay.
81 is an album a lot of people put higher. Rolling Stone call it the best album of the 80s. It's London Calling. The Clash is not a group they're not one of my key groups. They're not someone I'm great, that I'm always listening to. I still love London Calling. Here is a punk statement setting the stage for the 80s. There's just great songs on it. London Calling, Lost in the Supermarket, Jimmy Jazz, is that the song I'm thinking of? Great songs on this album. The only thing I can say, I wish it was higher. It's a great album.
I wish
Classic
it was
album.
higher, too.
Oh,
Anyway, I can't say enough about London Calling. Against the Wind, I can't say much about it at all.
I'm glad I was able to find something that quiets you down.
Certainly an interesting choice there. Generally considered by most to be maybe Seeger's poorest album.
With Hollywood Nights, Against the Wind, Old Time Rock and Roll, which was featured in a classic scene. Tom Cruise
We don't even have to.
sliding out of class. Everyone knows that scene. Initially, it made him a star instantly.
A disappointing album at best, one that he himself wasn't satisfied with. But hey,
Derek knows Seeger very well.
that's horse racing.
These are albums.
At number 81 is an artist I can't say enough about.
And yet I have
It's hard for me to believe that. It's hard for me to believe that.
Her name is Joan Armatrading. She has a sound and a voice and a style
It's very
that-
plain.
that is absolutely fantastic. She blows Miss Chapman, who's come on the scene and been a big
Yeah,
star,
I agree.
away. Joan Armatrading is fantastic. This album is wonderful. The album is Walk Under Letters. The song I'm Lucky is excellent. The song When I Get It Right is excellent. The song The Weakness in Me is absolutely tear-jerking. It's beautiful. Joan Armatrading is wonderful. All of her albums are excellent.
Buy them?
Buy the albums. She's great. I wish I could have included more of her stuff. We may hear more from her later on, but Walk Under
Well,
Letters.
maybe we'll hear from her after our break.
After our break, Walk Under
And
Letters
we'll be
comes in
back.
at number 81.
We'll be back with the next 80.
We'll be
I
there.
have done each of your
With the top 80 albums of all time.
That's right.
And I promise you, each of these 80 albums will be better than the 20 we've already mentioned.
As
Well,
will the commentary.
We'll see if Mr. Goldman. We'll see if Mr. Goldman agrees with you.
Whoosh!
Hi, we're back at Music World today, and joining us,
Music World.
and Reg has come back, joined us.
Reg, good to see you.
We're back with
Good to
Dr.
see you,
Weiner
Reg.
and Dr.
Yeah,
Goldman.
whatever you bloody say.
We're continuing their list of top 100 albums of all time. We're cruising right along now, up to number 80, I believe.
This time's going by so fast, I feel like I'm off.
Yeah, I feel like I just get back. I gotta come in again.
Yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go number 80.
Hey, look at the studio.
studio is a funny guy in a green.
Well, he's gone. Let's
tutu
continue with the
over
list.
Number 80, we've already heard it. Not That Friday, Madman Across the Water, Elton, we love him.
And my number 82 album, talk about agreement.
This is too silly.
These two
79,
slept together.
79, 79, an album, a band we're gonna hear from. Good album, Unforgettable Fire, U2, Synthesizer Sound, Pride, fine.
That's my number 79 album.
Really?
You choose the Unforgettable Fire.
Amazing.
Oh my.
This just goes to show when you get to this such a high
We're
quality.
at a level most people don't understand.
Don't you have a thing that we now do when doesn't someone win something?
That's right. Don't we have a drawing? If any matches we pull out, we made a whole bin in the.
That's right. You're actually playing for our home viewer.
We are playing for home.
And we'll open that envelope. Let's Hal's opening the envelope.
Hal,
Ding, ding, ding.
I hope it's a
We're
babe.
pulling from our large pile.
Ding,
of
ding,
openers.
ding.
Sheena Jacobson
Okay.
of Needham, Massachusetts. You
Sheena.
just won the
Sheena!
What's she got?
He's got a gift certificate at the tower.
Oh, well, where else would you?
Buy the Unforgettable Fire!
That would really.
That would be-
That would complete it.
That would
Yeah.
complete
And that would be a good conversation piece for her too.
Exactly.
So where she got it and
This
how.
is now a story she can tell.
Well,
With
that's-
Oh yeah, here's
Yeah,
the 80s,
that's 79.
Thanks,
It's
Sheena.
definitely the 79 best album.
No doubt.
When you get the thing is when you get to this level, the question is, how could you not have gotten all of the same ones?
It's true. We're at such a high level. It's just coincidence that they're not all the same.
Right.
Absolutely, except for True Blue. And
Let's
Against the
continue.
Wind.
Let's continue.
Speaking of the wind, someone seems to be breaking on the wind in the studio.
Oh. Whew. Number 78 is the first album from a Boston band, a very successful Boston band. Not Boston, although I'm not afraid to admit that I was at 4 nights of those shows.
Hello,
I was at 8 of those shows.
Good, I was at 4 of them. The band is The Cars. Their
Oh.
first album, coming in number 78. Admittedly, the Cars have faded. Admittedly, the Cars suck now. Admittedly, Door to Door is an album that they tried to sell door to door and had to.
They were forced to sell door to door.
But their first album, just titled The Cars, has My Best Friend's Girls. The album is just what I needed. The song title is just what I needed. So let's go buy it at the store.
And let the good times roll.
78, number 78 all time.
And shake it up while you're at it.
Shake it up.
If you're all I've got tonight, I'm in big trouble.
78, Avalon, Roxy Music, Brian Ferry, dapper, well-dressed, good music, nice mellow sound, I like it. My favorite album. And if you need one Roxy Music album, this is the one you get.
So smooth, so soulful, you'll sleep through all of it. It's boring. Don't buy that shit. Brian Ferry's a talented man. Unfortunately, he spent his life making the most dull, tedious music ever. He has a few
Well, I
nice-
know what that feels like.
a few solid singles thrown in there. Don't buy Avalon.
You know what's funny? That synergy we had at 79, it's all together there, and then it's gone. But that's the nature of this kind of business, isn't it? 77, someone I think we're going to hear from you. I have faith. On your list. It's George Michael, Faith. Father figure, Faith. I want your sex, and Ed, I'm talking to you.
How can you argue with number one?
Monkey.
About a
A monkey is originally about a many people originally thought was about someone's virginity. It's actually
about heroin.
It's about heroin.
Many people thought he's referring to his own moronic instincts.
It's about heroin. Great
I
album.
remember in your 86
Yeah.
companion.
Everyone dredges that. It's funny, basically when you're wrong once in 10 years, I guess you're gonna be reminded of it. Great album, Pop Master, George Michael.
He's a pop master. It is a
77.
great pop album. It's not on my list, but he's a great pop album. Some of the stuff getting a little wimpy, a little lame. I like the songs, though, I admit it.
See, it's also goes to show you, even though as we go into this high level of analysis, though you might run on parallel lines, there also can be a sort of clash of the titans.
And Titans we are.
And Titans, I certainly am a Titan. Coming in at number UB4.
I wonder who the band will be.
I think you might have gave it away there.
At number 77 is a band UB40 with an album about something very unpleasant thing to have happen in anybody's domestic life.
You refer to a rat in the kitchen.
Is to find a rat in their kitchen. However, if you find it in your disc player, you're going to enjoy it.
Great album. I like it.
It's a tuneful, soulful album. It's fun. There's a rat in the kitchen. What am I going to do?
Great song.
It's fun reggae. I wish I could put more UB40 on the list. Labor of Love is great. Jeffrey Morgan's great. They're a terrific band. Have fun with them.
Have fun with them, and we have.
I've had fun with Ollie up the butt a few times. I assume that'll be edited out.
Don't worry, we'll get Hal. Hal note that.
Have you given 2 or am I on now?
I haven't given 2 yet. And at number 76, a surprise thing, an artist everybody must agree is wonderful, got a beautiful voice, Van Morrison. However, my favorite Van Morrison album is not Moondance, it's Astral Weeks. Astral Weeks, Moondance is brilliant, Moondance is wonderful, Astral Weeks is better. And you'll like it better. Go buy Astral Weeks, it's number 76.
All right, the only way I can explain the look on Dan's face when you heard that was exasperated. And I heard a groan from Reg.
You know why exasperation?
It's because the other Van Morrison
There could have been another home viewer.
Oh. No.
Okay, 75 was Moondance, not 76. 76 was Captain Fantastic, Elton John, someone who Reg has worked with. Captain Fantastic, I love it. Someone Saved My Life Tonight, great song. There's some filler, great album.
Do you just call him the captain?
What, Reg?
I usually call him Dredge.
Reg. Well, his name is also Reg. Did we get a drawing for that?
Hal's shaking his head. No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Hal.
Oh.
75 Moondance. I love Moondance. I'm not.
Can't say enough about
It's a
Captain
great album.
Fantastic.
I don't want to put down. I don't want to put down you. I don't want to put down Van
I'll
Morrison.
tell you what, try Astral Weeks though, because if you like Moondance, you'll love Astral Weeks.
I may try. Should I try it now or after the show?
I think
Try it after the show.
Okay. Okay, go on.
Anyway, coming in for me at number 75, far better than last year's model, is this year's model. Elvis Costello and the Attractions. We heard him before with Get Happy, that was down in the crap or somewhere. This year's model, is a solid record. It features one of Elvis's best songs, Radio. It features other great stuff. It's fun to listen. It's fun to listen to. Lipstick, Vogue is
I think
cool.
we want to cover that song.
You gotta love Elvis. We could do that song.
I actually covered the song Radio. And it was my avant-garde version using only the sound of a tin pan hitting against a skull and my lyric over it.
It was dreadful. You can read an evaluation of it in my book, The 8 Worst Moments in Musical History.
True. Moving right along with the list.
Oh, you've got one more. I've got one more coming, baby. And it's one we've already discussed. Coming in at number 74, Paul Simon's Graceland LP.
Low for you also.
Low for me also, but I fewer of the problems with it than Dan had. For me, the number 74 album of all time is a classic, great album. So I'm very happy with it. It's nice to have the accompaniment of Dr. Weiner, whose voice blows away, I would say, the South African people on the record.
Homeless.
Right, Lemmy Smith, Black Mombazo,
Please
are gonna
remember.
be shaking in their seats.
Moving to 74, we a term coined, I don't want to take it as my own, but a psychoanalyst Carl Jung, with one breath, with one something you will know, synchronicity. That's all I need to say. There's great songs, Every Breath You Take, a classic of the albums of Police, I love it. 74. 73, you know, there's certain songs that make it on, there's certain albums that don't. That's the way it is. That's his album. Bruce Hornsby, he single-handedly brought the acoustic piano back. Every Little Kiss, The Way It Is. What's that last song? The Red Plains. I love this album. You know, it's a great album. Mandolin Rain. Go buy it.
River Runs Low.
Just buy it and crank it.
Reach for the wallet, folks.
Number
Wait,
7.
That's one that you want to get on disc. You really want. I mean, you get them on disc, but that one you really get on disc.
I take it back. All those other albums, you buy them on disc. They're overpriced. You gotta buy the player. They cost too much. Buy the albums. This one you want to probably buy the disc.
But then you'd also need the player.
Yeah, we'll keep your player.
And buy the books. For God's sakes, buy the books.
Is he pissing on the flag, or is he just showing his tuchus for America to see?
I think I
Either
know what we're
way,
talking about.
Born in the USA is an outstanding record. Not as high as you might have thought.
That's for sure.
His most successful record. I'll tell you frankly, it's because there's some stuff on it that isn't up to par with some of his other work. However, there's some great stuff on it. It's a great pop album. Bruce Springsteen is at his best when he makes rock albums. And it wimps out in places. But Born in the USA is number 73. I love it. I'm born down in a dead man's town.
I got a feeling Mr. Weiner might have played
I'm
that
not going to
somewhere
say anything now because in another 2 hours I'll be talking about that.
We only hope.
Waving it in my face and I can't help but see entries. If
Well-
I see any entries on yours, I'm going to tell them out to the people and steal your thunder.
Well, Dan says we'll be talking more about Born in the USA in 2 hours, so I guess he has it somewhere around the 40s.
Is it my turn? Not to be confused with living in America. I'll tell you. I'll tell you, I wish I was alive in the 60s, because then I would have spent some time with the Beatles. My next album, great album, sorry for the puns, great album, early Beatles album, I love it, I love the Beatles.
Yeah, what are some tracks off that?
Tracks off with the Beatles? I think we've got I Saw Her Standing There,
We
Honey
might,
Don't.
we might not.
Tiffany's version, I don't know.
I love Tiffany's version.
But isn't it, I saw him standing.
Well, she changes it.
Does that,
America's not ready for open expressions of homosexuality.
though,
Though Bronski Beat had made no bones about
though
being
Mr.
gay.
Goldman doesn't seem afraid to hide.
Mr. Goldman isn't afraid to hide much, I'm afraid.
I've been up Hershey Highway many times, and I'll be up there again soon.
Hal?
71, we've heard about it before. Southern Accents, Spike. I love that song. Don't Come Around Here No More, the single, that's the one I don't like. I like Dogs on the Run. Mary's Got a Brand New Car. Great album. Tom Petty, we'll be hearing more from Spike. Again, he doesn't make
Rebels.
albums. Rebels. Which I think applies as we watch this kind of crazy show.
Next, number 72 and number 71 are two female solo artists, one of whom we've already dealt with, one of whom we haven't. They're very different.
Madonna?
We've dealt with the sweet, soulful Joan Armatrading. Her first album comes in at number 72, Joan Armatrading. It's great. Can't say enough about it. Number 71, a very different Joan. Joan Jett in the Blackhearts. Her first album is Bad.
So at one point it was thought they were one and the same person, am I right?
Apparently, you were the only one who should.
I wrote a book on Earth.
There's a great deal of confusion in the mind of Dr. Weiner over who really was Joan Jett. He got
They were
confused.
both great artists, both dead now, but their music lives on.
Joan Jett and the Blackhearts album Bad Reputation is great. It's a hard rocking album.
They rock.
Joan
They're
Jett,
not afraid to rock.
Joan Jett has continued on with moderate success, making great music. I hope she becomes a big star again like her I Love Rock and Roll days. I love her. I'd love to fuck her.
It's gonna be very hard to sell this video cassette.
They buy the porno.
All right,
I'm trying to be
Number
as frank
70.
as possible. This is supposed to be about frank,
Number 70.
on the cuff, off the cuff commentary where I say it like I feel
They
it.
give
And
you
I
one
think
that
about Joan Jett and I get a little aroused.
I'd say you got a good chance considering she doesn't give a damn about her bad reputation.
I don't give a damn about my reputation.
Okay.
Oh no, not me.
Number 70. Billy Joel again, 52nd Street, great album. You've got songs like Rosalinda's Eyes, Stiletto, a hot song left off the Greatest Hits album, which Derek seemed to think if you had that you'd be fine. I say not if you don't have a song with
But
Stiletto.
included on
Stiletto's
the
on
Russian,
the greatest
Russian
hits
album.
Great album. 69, the guy who now is basically just bombing in Three Penny Opera. He's pretentious. No one liked his movie Bring On the Night. No one likes him. I like his music. Nothing Like the Sun, Sting. Great songs, great sound, Straight to My Heart, The Lazarus Heart.
We know the songs on the album. Everybody's got that album.
Everyone's got that album. You all bought
Spill
it. Buy
that.
another copy.
Spill
Great
my
album. I
beating
love
heart.
it. I love it.
Well, Joe Weintraub in Long Island is happy now because you've mentioned his two favorite artists. He's seen Billy Joel 48 times and Sting 34 times, and he plays with himself just thinking about Billy Joel. 52nd
Okay,
Street.
Campbell, we don't want to clog up the switchboards again. with
52nd Street is not an album that belongs on this list.
Great album.
And what was the other one you said?
Nothing Like the Sun.
Nothing Like the
Sting.
Sun, or were you too self-involved in your own pathetic list to be listening?
Nothing Like the Sun, yes. Anyway, coming in at number 70 for me, another album from a female solo artist, and a wonderful one, and a beautiful one. She's so cute. She's so much fun to listen to be with. Madonna. I've enjoyed all the opportunities I've had to hit the sack with her. Her name's Suzanne Vega. Her first album is truly beautiful. Can't say enough about it. It has songs like Marlene are on the Wall. It's beautiful music. People like Edie Brickell come along and make albums that are utterly detestable, that are basically just imitations of Suzanne Vega, who does it the best, who's always done it the best. Buy this, buy
Are you referring to the music or in the sack?
Oh, in the sack, you should see what goes on. But she also sings. And she sings with the best of them. Suzanne Vega.
Anyone who hits the sack with Suzanne Vega, I can see why they're so interested in men all of a sudden.
I bet you can see it. And then in 69 is Bob Marley and the Wailers. We talked earlier about reggae. Bob Marley is the king, the ultimate. The album is Exodus, features Waiting in Vain, and Exodus, and lots of other great music. It's Reggae Man! And it's Bob Marley, and it comes in interestingly at number 69.
At 68, I don't want the phones lighting up with teeny
What was
boppers.
your 69?
Nothing like the sun.
Oh, ironically, then 69 was Sting.
Fine, young cannibals. I don't want to hear all you teeny boppers telling me about the raw and the coke she drives. She may drive you crazy, but I don't want to hear it. I love the first album. It's got soul. It's when they knew what they were doing. I was looking forward to the new album. Disappointed with Raw and the Cook. I like their early sound. Fine Cannibals' first album. 67, band we've heard about. Police, Ghost in the Machine. I like this album. I like the Overlook track. I like Demolition Man. J'aurai toujours faim de toi. I'm always hungry for you.
We can discuss that later. Right now, we got a show to do. You can parlay français avec moi off the second.
Song in French. Great song. Demolition Man. I love Invisible Sun. Police, they do a great job.
Well, est-ce que vous êtes une merde? Parce que Ghost in the Machine is a bunch of crap. It's got the good singles. It doesn't belong on this list. Coming in for me, number 68, Imperial Bedroom, Elvis Costello. That's a great album. If you like Elvis and you haven't heard the album, you may be like Elvis and haven't heard the album. Town Cry, a great
I may get that one.
Imperial Bedroom is one to go get. And number 67, an album Dan already talked about and placed in his 69 position, which he's now famous for. I'm
a proponent of the 69.
Ironically, Sting has appeared in the 69 position with Dan year in and year out on his charts.
On his charts and otherwise.
67 is Sting's Nothing Like the Sun. Nice album.
Derek came up too short with Sting, I guess. What we have now is 66 we move into.
I'm not too short to sting anybody, good boy.
Moving along with our list.
I may make a list of 50 most inappropriate things you said, and it'll be very hard to pare it down.
I have a feeling number one is yet to come.
Believe me, the top 10 hasn't been touched. No, 66, The Boss. Tunnel of Love. A lot of people put this album down. People have problems with it. It's his only album that's not consistent all the way through. There's bad songs. Cautious Man. It's a rehash of Highway Patrolman. Who needs it? When You're Alone. Believe me, the Boss will have to learn to be alone if he's going to put albums out like this. Great, Brilliant Disguise, great song. I love Tunnel of Love. One Step Up, that's pop music filler. I want to hear songs like that. I'll buy Kenny Rogers. He's actually higher up on the list. I still like the album. There's great songs on it. Whatever the Boss does, I'm going to like it. He's maturing. It's his first step getting with these two bands. 66. 65, The Purple One's back. Love Sexy, interesting album. Didn't do that well. Not. you can name this if you want. It's not so accessible. Great songs. Positivity, yes.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, great thing. Alphabet Street. You gotta love it. Prince, he's there. He's doing it.
Bruce and Prince. I mean, anytime you throw Bruce and Prince in there, I'm not going to argue. Tunnel of Love didn't make my list. I like Tunnel of Love.
Sorry.
I like the album Tunnel of Love better than a lot of people like it. I wonder when he speaks of a tunnel of love, what he may be referring to. Any of a number of artifices come to mind. me, it wasn't good enough. Coming in at number 66, the first album from a band who initially I wasn't too crazy about.
Band initially banned in this country.
Who things have changed around dramatically for, and I realize now that their first album is absolutely brilliant. Things have gotten worse since then, but they're still, everything they do is good. Chrissie Hynde, Christine Kirk, Chrissy Snow, whatever you want to call her.
I don't care what you call her.
She can sing.
Just call her.
Just call her, and believe you me, much as I'm
Oh, I wonder if this will be inappropriate.
much as I tend to lean the other way these days, I wouldn't mind leaning into her a bit. Anyway. The Pretenders' first album, number 66, Mystery Achievement, and it was a mystery achievement because no one had ever heard of them, and they came out and did that album. Great album. Number 65 from The Wailers, featuring Bob Marley, Burnin'. It's great. It's got the original version of Get Up, Stand Up. It's got the original version of I Shot the Sheriff. It's great music. If you appreciate reggae, which unfortunately the doctor sitting beside me never has and will
I'm a doctor of sound
and refuses to. A doctor of sound, in case you thought he was a surgeon or a gynae. Burnin' is number 65.
I'm an OBGYN.
I can see your list there, and I don't want to see your list. First of all, it's bad enough I have to hear it. But it's really bad enough I can't see it.
Oh, you're too funny. 64. He was with the Eagles. He's not now. Don Henley, Building a Perfect Beast. I love this album. Boys of Summer, classic song, classic video. Other lesser-known songs. I love Driving with Your Eyes Closed. Not Enough Love in This World.
Talk.
Sunset Grill.
Sunset Grill, Sit Down, A Month of Sundays, maybe a little cliche.
Oh, I like A Month of
Cliched
Sundays.
farm stories.
It's a nice song,
Cliched. You live on a farm.
That little sucker, he never had to serve.
Yeah, quote obscure.
Powerful song, it's beautiful.
Great, okay, great album. Moving to 63, you know, you got your field, you put this out in your field, you can also put in your disc player. It's Scarecrow. I love it. John Cougar, this is when he broke through. Some people say his best album. I don't say his best album. Great album. Minutes to Memories, great song. Scarecrow, great song.
Stormy night as it's raining.
Small Town, which is known. Small Town is interesting in that it's the only song with 90% of the lyrics are actually Small Town. Small Town. Small Town. Small Town.
Young man.
Or you
with
can
a
just that's my number 67.
Sat there with a bow down head. They had us someone.
That song's oddly familiar. We did
Anyway, that's John Cougar Mellencamp's grandmother, my best imitation. Number 64 is the first album from a man we're hearing enough about. Sometimes I wonder about his sexual inclination. Anybody who gets married goes through this whole thing. I mean, did he ever have sex with her? Because he's a notorious homosexual and a queen and a flamer. Someone who at various points I've been attracted to now has gotten a little bit chubby beyond what I would go for. He's gray. He looks about 110. What number we're on?
He can still rock.
He certainly looks at least 64, but everybody loves Elton. The first album from Elton.
The first album from Elton. We're really having a problem now.
It's beautiful. It's number 64.
Now,
That's
most of us won't be alive when I reach the position where the first Elton John album.
And number 63.
I love that album.
And number 63 is an album which discusses something which I don't have for this fellow, and which I don't have for any of the people in this studio except my camera person, but which I have for you, the viewer, and that is trust. And I trust that you will go buy this album because it's good, and because you'll like it, and because if you don't, you'll never be a man. So at number 63 is the album Trust. It's Elvis Costello. It's another one of his excellent works. It's hard to distinguish between all of his albums. They're so good. Trust
Or
is
maybe
number
it's just that they all sound the same.
Trust is number 63, and they don't sound the same. If anything, if Dan bothered, Dr. Weiner here, bothered to listen to Trust after it was bestowed upon him, then he would realize that maybe there'd be one person's trust who he would have who currently...
Your poor taste in gift giving should not mix into a show like this.
Gift giving? I'll give you a gift right upside the head if you don't stop.
Or up the Hershey Highway.
Well, that's a gift for another time. Is it my turn?
It's always
62
yours.
is a band that's not afraid to rock. They've never been afraid to rock. This is a Dark Horse album. You mentioned it before. This is Van Halen. I'm going to surprise you right now with Fair Warning. I love this album. Unchained, Mean Streets, Hear About It Later, Dirty Movies. This album rocks. There's no quarter asked for, none taken, none given, and none granted. Just put it on, crank up the volume, and you might as well leave the house. That's your fair warning.
You might
Love
as
it.
well leave the
I
house.
love it.
And I wish you were giving me fair warning that you were going to include that, because I would have
61.
known to bring a barf bag.
61. This is often said, and it's true whether it's the title of an album or not. Every picture tells a story. Rod Stewart, great album. Maggie May, Mandolin Wind,
I'll tell you a story about this one.
Mandolin Wind, Losing You. Great album.
Well, I think you're losing them. But, number 62 for me, Joe Jackson. Oh, have we heard his name before? With Look Sharp.
Oh, yeah.
Number 62. It's great. It's even better than I'm the Man and Be Crazy. Every song on it's a winner. It features, of course, the first appearance of Is She Really Going Out with him, which he now has 47 versions of, etc., etc., etc.
I'd like to comment that didn't make my album. And
Your
it hurts.
list.
And mine hurts. In my list. It hurts. It didn't make it.
Well, I mean, you could control it. You could take off Against the Wind or True Blue and stick it in there.
Obviously, you're having some trouble with your noun.
I'm a writer, did I mention?
Number 61, again, Elton John. We talked about Elton John before. He just appeared at number 64. Now here he is again at number 61. This album is Honky Chateau.
Oh my God.
Mona Lisa's and Mad Hatters, all sorts of great stuff on it. It's number 61 all time.
And Dan, you felt that should be higher?
It's higher.
Well,
Just because
that
you
won't
get
be-
invited to this honky chateau is no reason to harbor this bitterness towards it.
That won't be Amazon rainforest.
And just because you slip it to Elton every night doesn't mean that I have to sit here and have him placed unfairly.
At 60, a group, we said it before, I'm not going to get into it, Beatles for Sale. They do a great job. Early Beatles album, I like the later things more, but you can't say that you're talking about that top 100 album. Wait, there are no Beatles albums on your list. Oh, I guess that's true. I guess there is no Beatles album that's one of the top 100 best. I'll just cross that out.
There's no Beatles album that's one of my favorite 100 albums of all time.
Let me
Oh,
Don't jump to that conclusion. Now, we may yet encounter a Beatles